Okay, then I have the time as 4:04, so I will call the specially called meeting, or specially called work session of the mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia, for Monday, July 26th to order. We have all our members present. So we'll go through, just, I guess, our normal order here. We'll review the regular business meeting. The invocation tonight will be from Dr. Quincy Brown, the new pastor at Snellville United Methodist. Anyone wants to do the pledge?
Be glad to.
Gretchen? Then we have the minutes. We'll have the public hearing to see if anybody wants to talk about the millage rate. So far, I don't think we've had anybody. Under new business, we'll have the adoption of the millage rate, second reading on the speed zone ordinance, and then the nuisance abatement. Chuck, you have, what's going on that property?
It is just knee-deep in weeds and overgrowth.
Okay.
It's just been, Jason brought it to my attention. It is, I thought Jason might be here today, but to talk about it, but it's photographs I've seen are just out of control, and Johnny's not been able to get any response to anybody at the property through code enforcement attempts. So we'd like to go ahead and move to abate it. Maybe they'll be cutting the grass, trimming it down, getting it cleaned up.
Okay. Okay, and then we have the two proposals from Root Design. Is Butch, where's Butch?
He left.
Does anybody have any questions on those? They were in the packet, or Butch had sent an email on those.
The only question I have is, we're approving something that we haven't seen we don't know what we're approving. We're spending money. Have we seen anything new?
Do we have a design yet?
Relative to the pavilion?
Right, but the design, the contract is based on what the budget is for
Okay.
the items. And it's updating the contracts that basically are existing
Okay.
for the increased budget. But we can have Butch confirm that before we get there.
Yeah.
Where is this option A going to be located?
Where's what? I'm sorry?
Option A or B going to be located?
What do you mean? Option A or B?
They're not looking at that yet. They're not
That's
looking
not
at
what you're
that.
talking about?
Are you talking
No.
about?
I'm sorry.
No, we're talking about Root Design, our contract with Root Design on our agendas. Are y'all okay? Everybody good? Okay, so that's all I have in the regular meeting. Any questions on the regular business meeting? Any correspondence, Butch?
No, ma'am.
I just want to let y'all know, I had an email back and forth with Jonathan with the artworks. They are, if y'all could check your calendars, he just responded back. They would be happy to come meet with us. I told him we'd have to do a time after 4 o'clock or an evening. He's got some board members that could do it on August 2nd or 3rd.
It's your birthday.
I'm not coming. On the 2nd is my birthday.
Well, we've got 4 dates to
4.
choose from.
Okay.
Are you talking
Is it-
about the evening, I assume?
Yeah, we can
Okay.
pretty much, I think, give them a time.
So
Either
then-
the 2nd or 3rd, the 16th, 17th, or 19th.
Well, the third, they have a ribbon cutting at north side,
That's
east
at
side.
3 o'clock.
That's at 3.
I don't, but
Okay.
just so people are aware.
Can we combine it on the 16th? No, that's not a council day. Never mind.
You just do it on the 19th.
So
Um,
if we could pick a date where most of us could get here.
I would say
Second, third,
16th,
16th through the 19th.
17th, or the 19th.
I can do any of those.
Yeah,
17th we go.
17 or 19.
17.
You do
That's fine.
Tuesday, 17th? You want me to try to do something later in the evening, like 6 or 7, or you want to do like 4 or 5?
It's up to the teachers, I think.
Well, it is, but it's not, because you guys work full days too, so it may be more interruptive of your day to get here at 4. I mean, 4 is fine for us, but whatever, the majority.
You have a
thinks.
preference?
How about Todd, because he's got,
I may or may not be there, just set it up when y'all can.
Okay. Will y'all rather do like 6:30 or 7?
No, I'd rather do earlier.
4 or 5?
5.
Okay.
So we're
Again,
saying the
it's up to you.
17th?
4:30.
Correct.
Let's compromise.
4,
Okay.
4:30s.
17th.
So I'd rather just keep going than have to stop.
At what, 4 you're thinking?
4:30.
We'll shoot for 4:30 or 5
It's easier to keep going than to stop and restart.
on August
That's my
17th. And so that would be structured as a specially called work session, just to talk with Artworks and see what they're planning to do with their, see if we want to try to jump on with that. The other is, and you may have also gotten an invite for, from Gabe Bruce with the Baptist Church about the Jubal, there's a Jubal Ministries concert at the Baptist Church. I had gone to that a couple years ago when they had it here, and it was phenomenal. But there's no reservation required or anything, but I think the prelude starts at 6:30, the concert begins at 7. It's first come, first serve, so if you're gonna go, you just need to be
You talking about what they have
there.
at Mount Zion where there's like 300 choir members and all?
Yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah.
Would you give me that date again?
It is Thursday, August the 5th.
It's right before. we leave
Right
for
before we
Savannah,
leave for
or
Savannah.
Yeah, it's the,
You might be leaving for Savannah Thursday.
I think we are Thursday, because I have class all day Friday.
But she said if any council's planning on going, just to let her know even the day of, just, I guess they'll plan to recognize anybody that does go. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. I can send you this email too. Okay. Butch, anything else? Correspondence? No. City Attorney's report?
I'm going to need an executive session, and the only public issue, I think I sent everybody an update on 2468 Mountain View. Only new things, the opposing counsel has signed off on the draft order. It's been sent to Judge Taylor for her signature. I spoke to Thea Sporton, who's the solicitor at the jail, and she is awaiting a copy of the order so that she can serve the gentleman with a copy of the criminal trespass notice, assuming that Judge Taylor signs it as is, and he's going to be informed that he can't go back to that property. So we'll see what happens from there.
Okay. All right, discussion items, the town center update. Mr. Sanders.
You want to start with finance?
Sure.
All right. Everybody has 3 sheets in front of them with an overview of the projected expenditures, revenues, and then one other item. If we start with the expenditures, things have really come into focus over the last few weeks as far as expenditures are concerned. We had a rock issue at the parking deck, and it was solved in a manner that cost us a lot of money, but because several people looked at it and we had a good discussion, we saved about $150,000, even with a substantial change order. So right now, the parking deck is still going to come in a little under $12 million, $11.9 million. And that is shared with the county, and you'll see that on the revenue side. But that's the projection. We had the main vein of rock. We had a couple more boulders, and I think Kyle and Winter are through the rock situation. We have not broken ground on the library or the market, but we are not talking about deep drilling and piers and the same type of footings that are needed at the parking deck. So we're looking at $11.9 million there.
What was the original budget on that?
The original was close to $14 million. And then with the construction manager at risk, it was 11,260. So we've had about $600,000 in rock work.
So I sent out an email, never got a response that I recall about the cost overruns for the footings and having to drill the piers and everything. Since those are shared footings, at least partially, is any of that being passed along to our partner that is sharing those footings?
That's under discussion, sure
Okay.
is. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Please keep us advised.
Yeah, we're trying to determine what, exactly where the, kind of the handoff is, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And now these numbers are today's numbers. So this is what, outside of the parking deck, we have had a couple of payments there, but didn't want to break it down and confuse everybody. But these others are remaining balances. The grading and the site work, if you remember, we had a number that was going to be equal the cost of the property purchase back. At this point in time, we've purchased the parking deck, we purchased the library, and so the remaining balance is estimated to be that $514,396. We know after the discussion with Hodges and Hicks and all of the improvements, we know the library plaza, which is 50-50 between us and Midcast, it's going to be $130,000. That's design and construction. And that's 50-50 because it is between the library and the multifamily. The Grove improvements, after several meetings and after what I think was a very good meeting several weeks ago, we came to a budget number of $1,726,627 for the Grove improvements, not including the pavilion and the stage. You'll see that the next two items are also in the Grove, but we separated it out because we did not want to pay Michael Kidd a commission on signage and on furniture and FF&E. So you'll see on your agenda tonight, there are two proposals from Michael and Route Design. One is to finish up the Grove improvements as value engineered, if you will, and the other is for the pavilion. So the two things that came out of there, besides the $650,000 in cuts, we have Grove signage and kiosks, $150,000. David Bruner and the folks at Casto feel like we can get those nice kiosks for about $40,000 to $45,000 apiece. And the next item is the pavilion, and that basically is $500,000 with a $100,000 contingency, $600,000 for pavilion. That contract, if approved tonight, I think he's already done a lot of work on it, but he'll finish up the design and start sharing proposals with the mayor and council and the DDA. The elevator tower. We had good news with the county bid on the elevator tower in the business center. It came in somewhere close to $700,000 less than what the projected budget was. And so we've broken that down. And you'll notice FY22 is basically the year that we are in now. It ends June 30 of 2022. I put all of the elevator tower business center and the business center in this year because the county will be pretty close to finishing that up within this fiscal year. But basically, we're talking about $5,782, $775 for the elevator tower and the second floor build out. The city market, I know we've talked about that with with the agreement that we've worked out with Midcast to work with Jamal on the lease and manage the construction, but the hard building cost is a little over $7 million, $7,030,000, and then there's a little money remaining for the FF&E. But that's the hard surface, the hard building cost. Public roadways and sidewalks. I know the mayor and council took a walking tour a couple of months ago. It hasn't changed a lot. There is, on my update tonight, I need to let you know that the county at the last minute came up with some concerns about the roundabout, that it was too small, that they're worried about traffic backing up both towards 78 and 124. That discussion has started. Let me just say that. They know that we're pretty disgusted that they got these plans they got the design close to a year and a half ago. And here we are a month from bidding it, or less than a month from bidding it, and they come up with these comments. Larry Kaiser, we went out there the other day after our meeting with Winter, and we looked at what might be possible. They want a larger footprint, a normal size, 110-foot roundabout, which I thought it would encroach on the police department as well as all the other corners. Larry has kind of put something together where it doesn't encroach on the police department, but it does encroach on Casto's property, basically. So I have sent that to Kirk and Roger, and I'm trying to get their input on it. He also has done something else when we were out there looking. This would mean a right in, right out for Clower and the entrance to whatever gets built on the other side. I think, you guys have had a chance to review what we've received from them, the nice development proposal. But in any case, we talked about widening the road, basically a bump out on either side of a landscape median, which slows traffic down as they go through the intersection and as they approach the Grove. But that does mean a right in, right out at Clower and the street on the other side. So we have a lot of discussion to take into account there. But in any case, the overall cost estimate is about $1.3 million for all of the roadway, right-of-way, sidewalk, median improvements that you looked at on the walk. And now this does not include Wisteria and 124. Wisteria and 124, should it come back, and I for one hope that it does. If it comes back, if you remember, SPLOST was going to pay. That was going to be a joint SPLOST project with an addition of probably $300,000 our match on that project. So that is not in this budget. If that comes back, it would have to be adjusted.
One comment on the roads. With the county coming back and wanting to change what we were planning with the roundabout, and with the state DOT not wanting to go with the intersection we had planned at Wisteria and 124, I told Butch and Larry, we just need to get a nice aerial view of the whole Grove area with what the new buildings are going to be. And the new roads, because remember, we're going to have Sawyer Road. I think, is that Sawyer or Snell that goes all the way through? Snell.
It goes all the way through?
Yeah, the one that goes all the way
Sawyer is the
through.
parking deck.
Okay, so Snell Street, if we could kind of sit back and brainstorm with the new buildings there, who's going to be coming out onto Clower trying to go left on Wisteria? If we can just kind of sit back and reimagine what we think the traffic flows might be, maybe we could come up with some different ideas of what we could do for the streets. So I'll let you know if we can get something like that together, and anybody that wants to come by and talk about it can.
If you don't do a roundabout, you're going to have to do a red light. Otherwise, it's going to be worse than it is now.
Well, that's what we've got to talk about.
Just moving down the list, the FF&E inside the buildings, the business center, $276,000. We're talking about tables, chairs, and whatnot like that. $930,000 for the market, since we have the upstairs there. These are Pretty close estimates after talking to Jamal and Shannon. The other FF&E that we also took out of the Grove improvements, the common area FF&E, benches, trash cans, bike racks. We're talking about shared cost with Casto on that, about $30,000 a piece. In that budget, we had tables and chairs all around the Grove, an awful lot of tables and chairs and umbrellas in front of the library. It was somewhere around $180,000. I cut that down to $100,000. I think we can put a necessary amount of tables and chairs and umbrellas for $100,000 in the areas that we want. So that's where that 130 comes from. The Grove Art, of course, with the $500,000 donation, I split that into 2 fiscal years, $250 apiece. The SS connector is the sanitary sewer connector from the last manhole on the Eastwood project to the corner of the Midcast property that they'll be purchasing from us on the other side of Wisteria. In remaining fees, architectural, engineering, inspection, the master developer, management, loan interest. If you remember, we are covering 1 year of the loan interest on the Grove improvements that they've borrowed to do, and that is $1.2 million. So the total, as you can see at the bottom, is about $32,254,798. That's moving forward. I've made a couple of notes. We've already talked about Wisteria and 124. That's not in here. The only thing that has not been budgeted out, and I've gotten a cost estimate, are the restrooms at the parking deck. The stalls there, 3 stalls. So I don't have that yet. And basically, when we and I think we talked a little bit about as we move to the second page and we start talking about funding. When it comes to the formula for SPLOST, our monthly SPLOST revenues have gone every month for the last year. They've been over $300,000. Some have been well over. One was over 400. To budget conservatively, I budgeted $285,000 a month SPLOST check, and in the SPLOST revenue item, and for the referendum, we budgeted 71% of all SPLOST collections for town center projects. $6 million for the parking deck, and then several other million for other improvements, public improvements, the roadway, the Grove improvements, some of the stormwater. So that's where I came up with the SPLOST funding category, the column you see there. Currently, we have about $6.3 million in the bank. At that $202,000 a month, from June of 21 to the last check will be March of 23. There'll be an election in 22. Hopefully it's a positive election that keeps the SPLOST going. But that's almost $4.5 million. So $10.8 million basically we're looking at having in SPLOST funds to pay for the improvements here.
And this was just the amount designated for town center?
That's correct, absolutely. And the bonds, I guess we can go over pretty quickly. Everybody knows I didn't put the million in here for the DDA, but that is set aside. So you've got the 2021 A's, which is the taxable issue. There's 8 million there originally. The 2021 B, there's 11 million. We have drawn down 2 large items that covered the cost of the Postal Service acquisition and work there. And we also reimbursed ourselves for the last 3 big pieces of property that we bought for the town center, which was the East Mountain Insurers, the karate studio, and the Rollins property.
So A is post office, B is property.
Yes. And so those two checks went directly into SPOS, reimbursed ourselves. That's part of that 6,340. So remaining in the bonds, we have over 14 million remaining in the bonds, 14.4, 14.5 million to be spent on the tax exempt projects and the taxable. The next column, property sale. We've already closed, obviously, on phase one. After deducting the cost of the deck parcel, we have $3.6 million sitting in the bank. Phase two, and they are, obviously, they have an interested suitor over there. They want to close on that property as quickly as they can. We've got the moratorium issue to discuss. We've got the site plan to review, but that's right at $3.4 million, so there'll be $7 million in that account from the property sale. County reimbursement, their share of the debt, which is about 16%, $1,868,300, plus they have a certain percentage of the fees, which will be about $130,000, so we'll get $2 million from the county. The donation from the Snell family, $500,000. And two items in the other category, the LCI balance that can be spent on sidewalks and improvements, $950,000, and the tree bank for landscaping, $300,000. So that brings in $1.25 million. So right now, the total funding sources are $35.9 million, and the projected expenditures are about $32.2. So, that should make us feel pretty good until you look behind door number 3. I need to remind you guys that we have bonds to pay. And I wanted you to see the debt service schedule there. So we really basically can cover those first 3 years of payments. And remember, in that 7/125 payment, that year, the bonds that paid for this building will be paid off. That's $385,000 that you'll have that you can transfer towards debt service here. And with all looking at the funding sources, the revenues, also remember, lease revenue starts probably late '22. That's gonna vary. It's gonna be anywhere from $186,000 to $425,000 a year. You can use that for debt service. Items not included in these funding sources, because they go to the general fund, but they're there, permit fees, added tax base. And if you'll notice, no fund balance is budgeted here. That fund balance needs to be used, if needed, for emergencies and contingency. So that's kind of the overall picture of where we are. We are bugging Fortune Johnson for the budget figure on the restrooms, and it is it would have been nice to have avoided the cost overruns on the parking deck. It would have given us a little more of a cushion, but we knew we were going to hit rock somewhere. I hope there's not a problem building 2-story buildings on the other 2 sites. So,
when you mention lease revenue, are you just referring to the market, or are you talking about the business center also?
I'm talking about the market. Okay. We don't have really a bird in hand on the other. Okay.
So you're basically saying it's $1.3 million per year for debt service?
Mm-hmm.
Saying what, Dave?
$1.3 million per year for debt service?
Yes.
But between paying off the debt service here, which gives you $385, and then if you are able to get 17% return on the $7 million we're putting out on the market, you're offsetting close to $800,000. So
you know, I mean, prospectively, the next SPLOST fund, you can set aside dollars for paying that debt. So I really, overall, I think we're in, you know, A- shape. I was hoping for better, but we protected the fund balance. You can use it for whatever, and we're moving ahead. So all in all, like I said, it's I'd give us an A-. And I know, take this with you, look it over. You know, I've given it to several folks and said, you know, what have I missed? We have a lot of balls in the air, but I think they're all listed here.
Can we get more speed cameras?
What's that?
Can we get more speed cameras?
Oh, gosh.
I'd like to get a call set up with Placemaker, because we haven't talked with them yet.
They
And I
have
know
been-
they're
no.
still working,
Yeah, they've been working with Jamal and his architects, and we need an update.
yeah, we need to get a check-in call.
Yeah, yeah.
So let me know if you can get something scheduled, I'll get on that
You bet.
call too.
And has he gotten any of his locations open? I know he was working on perimeter, the one in Orlando, we were told was opening in May, and they got,
Orlando's open,
it is.
but not perimeter.
Can you get us the name and address of that?
Yeah, I sure can.
I think it's called, I have it on Facebook.
You've got, all
I hear a field trip coming.
right. Well, yeah, there's potential field trip, but
It's the
I've got-
hall at the yard,
Is that the one at
the
Perimeter?
hall at the yard. That one's in Orlando.
Well, I've got a priest that likes to go out to eat down there, and I'd go have him check it out.
Yeah, right.
You laugh, he will.
Are you driving or am I?
No, have him go first. So, Butch, did you say that the bonds on this structure will be paid off in 23,
25.
25?
Yeah, we budgeted this year, there'll be a budgeted item in 23 and 24, and that's it.
Okay, and I'm just going to request, if we're going to have a big meeting like this, don't wear the same color as the walls, because you just look like a floating wall.
I'll get one of those fake backgrounds.
Deep green.
And on the
Yeah.
brighter side of it.
Yeah.
You do have one.
Okay, any questions on, everybody got dollar signs in front of their eyes?
Yeah, big dollar signs.
One thing that came up in your discussion is the potential that our partners shared with us for development across the way. Has that been shared with the DDA? Y'all see?
No. I don't think so.
I would like to get their input as we move forward on it. I know it's not
You bet.
necessarily public information, but I think it's, if there are partners in this, they need to know what's being looked at, and I want to know what their input is.
Where Eric went, I thought I sent it to him, and I'll make sure he sends it out. Okay.
Are we allowed to speak?
No, yeah, maybe.
Got the floor.
Yes, sir.
Right turn on Cloud. Why would that be a right turn on Cloud if it's a roundabout?
Well, coming off of Clower, the county has just, like, in the last week, 2 weeks, came week and said that that roundabout won't work,
I think they're right.
that it's too small. And Larry had a long conversation with Lewis at the county, and Larry can't really argue with his reasoning on it. But, so right now, we're looking for alternatives.
Red light?
That's not really one of the alternatives. But one of the suggestions was you could make Clower going onto Wisteria a right in, right out, with, if you're coming up with,
No roundabout, just right in.
right in, right out, and then the other side would just be a through pass. You couldn't, if you were coming up Wisteria, you couldn't turn left onto Clower. And I said, but I do that all the time. But apparently just me and Butch do.
I do.
Yeah.
I do all the time, too.
I do it all the time.
But the other thing you gotta think about, though, is that Snell Street is gonna be there, and it wouldn't have the same right in, right out, and no left turn issue there to begin with. Well, but that's what I'm saying, we need to sit and think that through with that new road in place. Because if I can't turn left onto Clower, I'm gonna go to Snell and turn left and come back through so I can get down the back way into the City Hall parking lot. So we've gotta sit back and reimagine what's gonna happen with traffic flow, and if we do this at that intersection, what's everybody gonna do, and if,
But do we have enough room if we encroach?
Let me,
Is that-
well, that's what they're checking on now. I mean,
think
there's still,
a lot of people, like if people coming down Oak, they can't turn right on North now. They're going to be able to turn right on North in the, because that'll be a two-way. Because most of the people are turning on Clower, and we've done a preliminary traffic count. There are more left turns there than right turns. And that's why we get so pissed off. People don't know how to drive, and we're sitting waiting on all those left turners. But there really is.
that's why I told Butch and Larry, I said, no one's turning left unless I'm coming up to go right. Then the guy in front of me is turning left.
But people are turning left there and then heading on up north more than they're going out to 124 and headed up.
But see,
So,
when north is two-way,
that'll
like
help.
it used to be.
right, you won't have to go Clower to Wisteria. You can just go straight down to north and turn up, and then you'll be able to go all the way up north. So that's going to eliminate a little bit of the left turns.
You talk with your hands.
Yes. Well, especially when we're dealing with roads.
And I really think more people are going to use this intersection out here, because it's easy to go right on 124 there. Most people, they don't,
Which intersection are you pointing at?
the big intersection, 78 and 124. At least I'm hoping. And what the county was worried about, we're at about 14,000 cars a day. They said that the maximum for a mini roundabout is 15. They're thinking, well, obviously the Grove is going to bring a lot of traffic. But I'm just hoping that the two-way at north, the option of 78 and 124, I'm hoping that keeps that 14. They aren't going to listen to us. But, I'm hoping that number stays pretty consistent, but they just are not going to approve that small roundabout, because they put them in before and had to take them out. And if you look at, I don't know if y'all have been to the Lilburn City Hall and the Lilburn Library, there are a lot of small roundabouts right in that area, but there aren't even 1,500 cars a day. So, they're worried about it backing up towards 124.
They're putting one over here on 84 right now.
Yeah, but that's.
Yeah, that's a normal size one. Yeah.
Another question is, Harbor Oaks Drive and Wisteria. That's a dog y'all probably don't want to hunt. Are y'all going to line that up?
We don't want to because.
State's going to make you hunt that.
Yeah, well, what we know is that even if we did a three-way intersection like we were talking about, when the state comes in and widens 124, they're gonna line that up. So it's gonna happen sometime within the next 5 to 10 years, but then somebody else said it was gonna be a quicker project than that, like 3 to 5 years, but who knows?
Right now, to put one lane on each side.
Yeah.
And they already surveyed.
And when they come and do that, what we've been told is they are gonna line that intersection up.
But y'all not going to put a light there with this project here going.
Well, I mean, we've wanted to, but the DOT just came back and said no, the state DOT.
They said no, you can put a light there, but no left turn. You can have what's called an R-cut, which extends the left turn lane north on 124 to give people the light to turn left, but it doesn't change the traffic flow. And they're asking us to spend $1.5 million in SPLOST and our money to do that, and we don't get the benefit from the left turn there. They were afraid that the traffic control was not good enough to keep people from backing up from Oak all the way through that intersection. And in the county on that one, didn't give us a lot of help. I mean, they've got a traffic management system that they've spent millions of dollars on, and I thought it could manage that, but they would not voice that in our calls with DOT.
And my understanding that somewhere in the future, Wisteria and Harbor Oaks Drive are going to line up and going to be a light there.
Yes,
And you're going to blame it on the state, and that's fine.
Well,
Yes.
it is.
it will be the state,
That's
yes,
a state road.
yeah.
And that's when we can go into Harbor Oaks and we can put mini roundabouts, we can put all kinds of traffic calming devices on Harbor Oaks to keep it from being a cut through.
We've already, I'd asked Larry Kaiser to go ahead and start looking at, there's a couple of streets that we have that are long, straight, cut-through streets that we already have a lot of traffic and speed issues on. Harbor Oaks, Green Valley's another one, that we could look at putting in some chicanes or some mini roundabouts in there on those streets, and it would help
I will tell you that the
slow some people down.
roundabout at Far and North Road is great, and I wasn't for it to begin with, but I had my hesitation, but it does work.
As long as you remember to go counter.
I did remember.
So wait a minute, I just want to make sure I hear this right. You were wrong and we were right? Okay.
That's the only thing.
You want me to sign something?
Well, and these wouldn't be really full round, they'd be just kind of bump outs.
Yeah.
I mean, we priced them for Kirk and Gretchen's road there in Nob Hill. And so,
Our street has a lot of speeding issues.
in Mountain View, we really need to put a couple on Mountain View.
Yeah.
Where folks
That would
come out.
help.
So,
As we look at the traffic issues, as we're talking about Wisteria and trying to get traffic to go down to the intersection of 78 and 124, one of the things that I'm seeing more and more of, whether it's on North Road, whether it's on Ridgedale, whether it's on Wisteria, is we have semis that are using those as cut-throughs. And we need to look with our county partners or whoever to limit heavy trucks on those roads, unless they're making deliveries, local deliveries. Because when you have one vehicle that takes up 7 car spots, it changes the traffic dynamic greatly. Having semis going through the roundabouts that have just been put in on North and as far as in Ridgedale it's really not good.
Yeah, especially when they run over the center.
Yeah,
Oh, my goodness.
yeah,
Are there semis going down there?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they come out of Sam's and they go down north. Yeah, seen it a number of times. Kroger, when they deliver down in Grayson, they come on up and hit Ronald Reagan whichever way they can. Sometimes I see their trucks coming up, whatever Fars becomes, is it
Hillside or something?
Hillside, yeah, and then hit the roundabout, and I mean literally. hit
oh, they
the
tear it
roundabout.
out.
Yeah, well, and it wasn't designed for semis. The feed-in lanes, every bit of it was just,
Well, we should either see if we can put up signs or have the county put up signs.
I've checked, and they're all county roads, so,
So they'd have to do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they'd have to allow us to put up the signs, and then our police, once it's.
Enforce it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know there'd be no fees for that, right?
So, but that's one of the things I think it would be good for us just to kind of sit back and look. We can't look at each intersection individually. We have to look at how the changes that we're making will impact everywhere. So we got to look at it in a total, and I'm afraid that's kind of what we've gotten into, looking at like Clower and Wisteria, is we're just looking at that one intersection with the way the traffic is right now. But that's not the way it would be with a two-way North Road connector. So I think there's some other things that might pop out if we all sit down and put our heads together on that.
Larry Kaiser tell us, I'm trying to remember, the Oak 124 intersection? Did he say that was going to be reduced to one right-hand lane?
No. We were talking about doing 2 left turn lanes from Oak to 124
Okay.
with one through and right lane, but that won't work. So that's been nixed.
That will not, traffic flow won't change there.
Okay, because I remember when you said that, I was thinking, oh, if it's the same through lane
And
and
right.
right turn lane, that would,
Back things up.
that really back things up.
Yeah, but that's not going to change.
Okay.
Because the issue there is that intersection is so tight. There's not going to be a whole lot we can do. And that's why we've really got to take another look at what's going to happen when North Road hits into Oak. There's the potential of making that right in, right out only.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
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 No left turn from north onto
Onto Oak.
Oak.
That's going to be a mess if we allow
Because,
that.
well, with the curve in the road and the apartments there, you're not going to have any visibility.
It's a right in, right out.
I do it already, and it's
And it's
already
dangerous.
getting tough as they put up more construction and more signs. People seem to have a hard time navigating it. The real issue is people coming up Oak to the town center and wanting to make a left as they cross 124, make a left into Tommy's, or somebody on Oak Road trying to make a left into either the bank or the Shell station there on the corner.
That is a mess when they try to make a left into Tommy's.
It's worse when they're trying to make the left into Tommy's, because then traffic backs up out onto 124, and they're trying to cut across 3 lanes of traffic, which doesn't
Isn't
usually
working well.
work very well.
Emmett, did you have something?
I'd like to bring up on the cobblestone. This came up in the parking lot, Fred placed them up an idea of it. The maintenance of the cobblestone, since the city owns the property through Development Authority, let maintenance do the mowing of the grass and all that. Maybe the cobblestone would be able to pay the city maintenance for the upkeep. Rather, they don't have anybody doing that right now. And,
Yeah, have Public Works do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
can we do
that
that?
work.
Yeah, we can look at it.
I mean, it's city property through the Development Authority. I mean, it might be a little gray there, but
We could make it not so gray, probably.
Yeah, just have,
Make it look neutral
should we just deal with Angie?
yeah.
Good luck.
Okay, all right, yeah. We'll see what's going
I
on.
mean,
We'll bill you, we'll bill you.
And we're having to bid it out, so let maintenance do that.
I can tell Deborah's chomping at the bit to take over that, right?
Right. They would put out RFQ for maintenance.
Have you ever seen her run a lawnmower? It's impressive.
Another point is that I thought the trip to Alpharetta and all was well worthwhile, and I learned a lot. And what I learned from that is housing is going to make this go or not. If you don't have the housing there, it's not going to go. So those of us that went, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That was a worthwhile trip. Yeah.
Thank you, Emmett. I agree. I think from a learning perspective and just being able to be on the ground and looking and talking with,
Learn from their mistakes.
yeah.
Exactly. And from their successes.
Yes.
Like,
Charles, I don't want to take it over me. I understand that Northside Hospital bought Tim Stewart, and they're going to develop that. Do y'all have any idea what that is yet?
We have no idea who the purchasers are.
It's Northside Hospital, paid $5.5 million.
It is for sure.
would this be an appropriate time to share with him what was shared with us?
I don't know that that's public yet, is it?
Yeah.
It's not public, but they are this They are our,
I understand, but we could share it with them, but it's not for in the
okay.
perfect,
session.
yeah.
Tim Stewart closed the 15th of July and the furniture was going to move out.
Did they take the inventory out? That's the only thing that matters in
No,
stuff.
he did that once.
Okay.
So if you're going to die, you can't go over there. He's closed that property.
Dang, I had that scheduled.
They've already taken the furniture out.
Well, I had heard Saturday at the farmer's market that they moved. And I knew they were moving because a friend of mine was the executor of an estate and they had a funeral and they were like, oh, well, at that time, we won't be here. Here's the new address.
So without sharing what's going to happen, if that has to go in executive session, but probably appropriate time to, to start talking about what you guys want to see us doing in next steps. Where we are, we have an operational piece to look at with the Grove and all the things that are going down there that we're going to be responsible for, whether physically or on paper or both. Also, our current situation with cobblestone, and we just talked a little bit about the maintenance of it, but the need for some sort of executive or some sort of administrative piece will give you. Parts are starting to move pretty fast right now. And we need somebody to organize that, to help them desperately. I think that, I know we've had some discussions here and there about how that's going to look in the future, and is it going to encompass all the things that we're responsible for in the Grove and the cobblestone piece at the same time? Is it a property management situation? Is it an executive director situation? Is it a Main Street manager situation? What is that? And these months are clicking by pretty quick now, and we're going to wake up and kind of go, okay, and all these balls are in the air. Angie, we did lose our maintenance guy there, so Angie is operating that place kind of by herself. I've been more involved here in the last week or two. We had a couple of issues, we got them all straightened out, it all worked out perfect. It all worked out perfect. But on a long-term situation, we really got to address. And then what you want us to see us start working through. Is there things that need to be looked at, in other areas? Or are you just interested in us, helping get the Grove filled up,
Yeah.
what that looks like? We started meeting and we got to kind of get a direction going. So.
Okay.
You guys discussed anything about bringing on an executive for us or helping us bring that in? Y'all had any discussions amongst your group?
No, not really. Just about the going forward with the Grove, the whole area, and property maintenance on that, whether we have like a parking deck operator and somebody else to do the maintenance stuff, because that's going to be shared too with Midcast. So, yeah, we don't really have anything definitive on all of that as far as a property and grounds kind of maintenance and
No, as far as,
administrative.
we are, I don't like waiting till the last minute, you get that butterflies in your stomach. I've sat down with Roger and Kirk, and we're putting a maintenance budget together, an ongoing budget, because, we're committed to fund the DDA's expenses.
Correct.
And, I imagine we'll probably have that. They've had their hands full, we've had our hands full. We'll probably have it in a couple months. But we just discussed, I don't have my list with me, but I gave them what I thought the line item list would be. They put a couple on theirs and added a couple, so we'll have that for you in a couple
I
months.
guess what I'm going to be asking is, what are you going to be truly responsible for? What are our responsibilities as the development authority? And because, on a daily basis, a weekly basis, monthly basis, whatever that is.
I went through every document, and I've got a calendar of everything that has to be done and when it has to be done. And that's where I put my budget together there. So we'll make sure we're all on the same page with that, for sure.
And then we had our meeting last week, we had the gentleman from Thrive from Oakland. First time I've had that discussion, or even had a lot of input on that situation. And we're still kind of looking at it. And that's the second floor of that library piece that I know you guys have looked at in the past. Is that just been set on the back burner? Do you want us to continue to push through that?
Yeah, it's not going to be on the back burner anymore, because we need to go ahead and get that rolling. So, in fact, we just talked about it, Eric and Butch and I just had a meeting right before this one. We're going to go ahead and set up another meeting with Ramon, with myself, and Butch or Eric, and if you want a couple members of the DDA, to sit down and try to get us closer on a proposal type situation that we can bring back to the council.
Because I said, just glancing over that from 30,000 feet, there's a revenue stream there for that second floor. A couple of ways to do it. What he proposed is a partnership kind of deal, all the expenses on us up front. But yeah, I'd like to, I just kind of want to know where you are on that, and definitely want to be involved in those conversations. So.
Well, here's what we know. I mean, I think we've all seen, the council took a field trip up to Alpharetta and saw the Thrive location up there. We've all seen that, and I think we all know there's a lot of benefit to having an organization like Thrive come out here, because one, they've got multiple locations. So anybody who joins, as a member there, has the opportunity to go and use the other facilities that they have around the area. I had asked Eric and Butch months ago to talk to some other type industry people about it. They can't get anyone who will do anything in the suburbs. Thrive is really the only one that's doing suburbs only. And so I think, that's another indication, but I am sure that having some type of business development incubator is what we need to have up there on that second floor. So we're going to see if we can just get it together to a little bit firmer proposal, negotiate it back and forth, and then we'll see what the council thinks.
You said that they're modeling Canton, which is the other side of the
Right.
It's kind of the similar model he proposed first time. But also they're going to Duluth and
Right.
some other areas.
And we do have money set aside for build out of that structure in our budget already.
It's
Yes.
included.
So, okay, that's it.
Does the county have any control over that second floor?
No.
We got our own.
None at all? The utilities are going to be separated?
I think we can't open a library.
What about a bookstore?
They wouldn't want to borrow it, I'm sure. So.
But I think,
Yeah, probably not.
besides, I know you took the trip, saw what's going on out there, talked to Ramon. There is a proposal on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody needs to review that and make some notes, where it can be improved. I think it's not, it's not one-sided, but it's written from his perspective.
Or shouldn't be.
And so I think everybody needs to look at that and make some notes. And when we have this discussion, we need to say, okay, here's what I want. Here's what I'd rather see. Here's what's a little more fair to the city.
The
So,
question I asked that I kind of want to see in the paper, because I'm a numbers guy, is what the revenue projections are on a full center, on a full usage facility. This is a membership organization, basically.
Right.
The way I read that model. And because that definitely shows us a little bit more about how that proposal would look for us. And he even said it the other day, is that, they wouldn't think it would fill up as fast, but they didn't think Canton was going to fill up very fast and it's full, and it could, because there is not any service out here.
Right.
And it would have a little direct effect on the cobblestone piece too, so there's a lot of parts that are going to move together, or is there some partnership in there too?
And would somebody coming in there have to get a business license?
Yes. Oh, well, yeah, I don't know. If somebody's just doing like a desk pull-up, I don't know, but see, he does rent private offices in there as well.
Right.
So that would be a business located in the city that would definitely need it.
Yeah.
I would think as soon as you use it as a mailing address, you have a mail drop there, and then that becomes the trigger for you having to get a business license. If you are coming to Snellville 3 times a week from Duluth, you don't, because you're getting your mail over there.
You said a lot of people use multiple locations depending on the
Right. Yeah.
If y'all have, questions or concerns or anything, we're gonna, I don't know when we'll schedule that meeting, but we'll keep it to a small group just because.
We're talking about going up there and looking at it.
We're going, yeah, we're going.
Okay.
to look at those.
Yeah, let me know when you go to Kansas.
But if y'all have any initial concerns or thoughts or ideas, just go ahead and email them to me and I'll make a list. Making sure we're.
We've been in and out of the one in Alpharetta a couple times, but.
So just let me know when you want to, if you need me to start putting something
Okay.
together, operational for the DDA on what this looks like in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months.
Yeah.
So, really helpful.
Mayor and Don, before you leave the Thrive conversation, Don, since you have DDA members here, would you designate 1 or 2 of the members that you would like to be part of that conversation with Ramon on this next effort? Would the DDA designate the 2 members?
Who wants to be there.
Right.
So,
Can you do that now? Just so
Yeah.
I have a name? Who wants to be on that group?
Well, we talked to Billy too, I'll do it. I'll get it to you this week, I'll find out who wants to be there, who's gonna be there. 'Cause I want everybody who wants to be involved and make sure they're there. Make sure. So
But we only want like 1 or 2 for this, yeah, just to, there's no point in everybody. If we get too big of a group, we can't really negotiate,
No.
talk it down, so we can get it to a little bit better proposal and then float that and let everybody comment.
So this time next year, Chuck, Butch, what would be sitting over there?
This time next year, we'll still be under construction.
I know, look in your crystal ball, this time next year.
They want to open in the fall of '22.
We're looking at,
Open in
yeah.
the fall of '22.
Yeah,
The fall of '22, the
I think-
parking deck.
I think October. The multifamily will open in stages. They won't have them all ready at first. They'll all be done by, probably January. So there's a lot of
Anywhere this
finishes.
coming year?
January 23.
23. Yeah.
Well, that's scary, because
He's
they're
saying
the only
22,
people who
you're
are
saying
building.
23.
What's that?
He said 22, you're saying 23.
Yeah, I'm
They
saying
said-
20.
They said fall of '22 for like the library and.
They'll
Yeah, but-
start pre-leasing next summer.
But all the apartments won't be ready until probably January of '23. They'll lease them as they go along.
I have had people asking me, do you buy them, do you rent them? Are they
Rent 'em.
apartments? Are they condos?
Yeah.
Nobody has any prices yet, right?
Yeah, no, not that I'm aware of.
Not cheap is the price.
But before we leave the second floor, Dave and Todd, I've heard you guys, I don't want there to be any misconceptions. It has been designed, there is a lot of shell space in the back, but there are offices, a conference room, classroom, and the gathering space that will be built out. I mean, there'll be, a wall there for the conference room, there will be a drop ceiling there. And everything that I've heard, and I haven't talked directly to Ramon, but everything that I've heard, it sounds like if he wants changes, we need to have that, if we're serious about it, we need to have that discussion pretty quick. But it does sound like his proposed changes might save us money.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
He wants more open space than he does.
his format is no drop ceiling and concrete floor, or whatever,
yeah,
but nothing spiffy. That seems to be the thing.
yeah, well,
His build-out costs are.
but it has been bid as, with those improvements in there. So in the county, they've got a pre-construction meeting in August. So we just need to be moving there. But I just want everybody to know that it's not all shell space. I mean, it's been bid to be built out at least what do you think, Eric? 60% of it? And
Is that an easy change? I mean, if you just go shell?
It's easier than going the opposite
Right.
direction.
That's like if you made a deal with Ramon, because that's exactly what he said, basically brings up
Yeah.
designer in and they design it, we can split it in.
Well, there are probably.
But it will
some
be a
pieces
change
you
order
want.
already because it'll be different than what was bid.
I guess you could take that space.
But he wants us
Right.
to buy the furniture.
Right,
So taking that space you have designed now and see if it can be worked with, right?
right.
He's seen the space that we have now, and
He has.
back in January, his comment was, well, I can start with that, but I'm going to make a bunch of changes. He understands the classrooms will be left in, but he creates a little bit of a different space and atmosphere, and the walls are different and that kind of stuff. Like you heard, he said he uses glass. So there's a bunch of changes. He said he would want at least a couple of months to redesign the space.
Well, we're going to have to move.
Is this 20,000 feet up there, is that what it is?
22,000.
Yeah, and if we're going to have anything proprietary, it really needs to be located so you don't have to walk through it to get to his.
Correct.
And that 22 is going to have restrooms, staircase,
Little kitchen.
and the historical society has a little office there. Is that still in works?
You want to send that layout to everybody so they'll have that to look at?
And he also said his proposal is negotiable.
Yeah, well, that's what we're
So-
going to do.
I know, but I mean,
Yep.
he's looking at that going in. He's not saying, here it is, take it or leave it.
Right.
So just, so you're going to check on maintenance of cobblestones, what we can do there?
Yeah.
And then open up discussion about where we need to be.
Yeah.
I rudely asked earlier about this road sign here, so can we get that, where's the sign going to be?
Yeah, I think, because we're going to talk about that, aren't we?
Okay, if I've got extra copies for mayor and council, you want to distribute those?
I've got one.
Oh, y'all got one of those?
Yeah, I think you already had it. We just didn't.
Mayor, do you want me to kind of go over it briefly? How would you like to proceed?
Oh,
Let's let Solange will be back in a second.
okay.
Well, while we have a little break, I invited a guest here today. You want to introduce yourself? Because I'm horrible with names, and I think your name's Catherine, but beyond that, that's as far as I get.
Catherine H., like Hepburn.
There you go.
Yes. Hi, I'm Catherine Holland. We met at the farmer's market this weekend, and he kindly invited me to the session today, so thank you for having me.
Dave, I saw on Facebook you were having this conversation with this lady about turning off Oak Road on, turning off North Road on Oak
From
Road.
Oak.
I don't see a mountain of dirt out there to bother her, do you?
Well, I don't either, but there's a little bit of a hill, and I guess some grass, and there's a sign there. So I spoke with Butch, and they're gonna see if they can, you can't fix it, but you can make it better.
It's never going to get better.
Oh, I know. It can get a little bit better if they move the sign.
Visually,
signs.
those buildings aren't going to get to where you can see them.
Well, that's when it's gonna go right in, right out.
Yeah, but they're getting ready to pour the slab,
They're focused last.
so they.
They're about to go vertical.
Yeah, they can't move the signs onto the slab, so.
This is one of those drivers that should not go left on Clower.
Exactly.
She needs a bigger car.
She should turn right on Wisteria, left on Clower, and then turn from Clower wherever.
No,
she
you
wants
make right turns only.
Oh,
That's me, that's.
yeah.
I plan my life around trying to make right turns.
Me too.
That's the way to go.
I am not a risk taker. Not that
That's a
far.
question.
No.
Who's responsible for the timing of the lights, the signal lights?
DOT.
County DOT.
Yeah, they,
Yeah, Gretchen jumped on the,
78,
yeah, because you know,
191.
78 coming this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and when you coming on to make the left onto 124, the light is too short. And then you have to
There's a
wait
lot of
another
timing
day
issues
for it
there.
to change again.
I've got to contact the
It's all
DOT.
master launch when they're watching it.
yeah, sure they're
And then
watching.
people just sit there.
Yeah.
It's a green light, but they sit. And then when they do decide to move, they move fast enough where they're able to go through the yellow and your stuff. I'm just saying.
I think you saw Tom Seaver's response.
Those are.
They've
No,
already
I
adjusted
didn't
it.
see it yet.
I've sent it to y'all.
Okay, yeah, I
Who does
mean,
that?
sometimes you just do not get a green arrow if you're coming
Okay.
south on 124.
Let's get to the signs.
Okay.
Here, you want to
I can if you'd like.
skip?
So the city has partnered with a company called Creative Sign Designs with our developer. And they brought this company, Creative Sign Designs, to the table. They are designing all of the signage for the Grove. So the monument signs, and so if you go to
Page 5.
yeah, if you go to page 4, you'll see at least a start there of signs. But they, just to start it, they're designing the monument signs, they're designing the wayfinding signs, they are designing kind of some boxes that might go with the kiosks that we're interested in. There are 2 of those. They're also designing, the developer wants to put some other just informational, just stand-up that aren't digital signs, kiosks that aren't digital, kind of like we've got on the green in other places as well. So they are doing a theming for all of that. So if you look on page 4, there's at least several of the markings of where they're proposing signs go. That one that you held up, Emmett, is the M1 that goes on that corner of Wisteria and North.
To make that turn.
Yeah. So this is just a first stage proposal, and really what they're asking from the city at this point is just that they're headed in the right direction. And so, because they would like to then put together a more final package for you all to look at and review. So if you go to the page 5 then, that's the proposal. The developer has indicated they want at least 4 spots on that main sign to put names of things, stores or whatever in there. Obviously the mercantile would be one of those. Multifamily would be one of those. Library may well be one of those. You can see they put some kind of suggested stuff that could go on there. But they are holding it open that if they get, anybody that is a major retailer other than the mercantile and the library, there may be some switching around of what's on there. Another, if you look at page 6, that's kind of another proposal for that same, for the M2 sign, which is if you look back at page 4, the M2 sign is at where the street A, or what we're calling Sawyer Road, hits Oak Road. You see M2 there.
Yep.
So that's the M2 sign. And then there's other signs. I did not bring, but I shared with Mayor, the wayfind, the DDA did a wayfinding and sign project about 4 or 5 years ago now. That was provided to them. So if you look at page 7, you can start to see kind of what came out of that wayfinding package. And then if you turn to page 8, that's the way that Creative Sign Designs is thinking about reshaping those signs. That's one proposal. If you look at page 9, that's a second proposal of where they're looking at reshaping them. So they are very much staying within the theme that the DDA came up with and the city has been using for the signs that they've been building. I think they've done a very good job of that. Then they do go further on, and you don't have copies of it just because I didn't print it, but they do go further on with kind of the details of signage for the parking deck. which is pages beyond 10. I'll be glad to send that to you electronically if you want to, but there really isn't much to those pages. What they would really like to know is, are they in the right direction, kind of with pages 8 and 9? And they would like to move forward to finalize the concept. And I don't think you need to vote, they just need some direction.
They want to know whether you want the little logo in the color or not.
Well, the logo, and if you look on page 8, you know, the bases and the poles are more reflective of the light
Yeah.
posts,
And it has a
lamp
lot better
posts and
look
that
than
kind
just
of.
a piece of wood stuck in the ground.
Well, these are metal,
Yeah,
but
it looks like a piece of wood stuck.
So-
Right,
so
but it's
the-
just kind of a-
So option B on page 8, that mirrors what our lighting package is in the growth.
That mirrors our sign package that we've got for the
Yeah, I
city.
like those better than page 9.
So that's.
Actually, the 9 ones are more reflective of exactly what was drawn in the wayfinding, but I agree
Right.
that we don't need to, the whole theme is, I told them, you know, we don't need exact, we want to carry the theme forward. And so that's why they proposed this other one with the bases, because they like those bases.
They're aware it's going to be not Snellville City Library, but Elizabeth H. Williams Library, correct?
This is not,
Okay,
nothing
I just wasn't
exact.
sure.
Yeah,
This
this
is
is,
no
would be
wording
a-
yet, okay.
this is
That'd be an issue.
put the idea out there, nothing.
Right.
So do
It's like Apple building.
Yeah.
they want input as far as on 5 and 6, as far as option A, option B, that sort of stuff? 'Cause
Whatever you'd like to give
personally-
input on.
Personally, I like the look of the stacked stone on option A on both pages, or option C over the
Gray base?
smooth skin coat.
Yes, definitely.
And as far as the size of the sign, option on page 6, option A, B, C, and D, doesn't really matter to me as long as the construction material, because that should be determined by sight lines and scale actually in the site rather than,
I like that.
Well, remember, the one on page 5 is going on the corner of Wisteria and North, that's the major sign.
Right.
The one on
Right.
page 6 is going on the corner of Sawyer and Oak.
right. But since we haven't seen the design of any buildings that are going to be there along Oak Road, as far as picking the size and scale and scope of that sign, I wouldn't do until I knew what I was matching it up with.
Well, they are working with the developer on
Right.
all of that stuff. so.
Right. I would appreciate updates on what we may end up with there.
So on the page 6 ones, what do y'all think about the parking sign at the top?
Oh,
Did anybody notice that?
yeah,
This P,
I'm not fond of it.
Hate it.
Looks like a bus stop.
Do not like it.
Right? Looks like it's a bus stop sign.
I don't know if anybody will know what that is.
You might think it's restrooms.
No, I mean,
That's kind of a
it's that universal parking
but
sign.
I don't think
But-
it
I like A, but
enhances the sign at all.
I like A,
the,
like you said.
yeah.
I like A except for the parking.
The
Yep.
issue that Alpharetta told us when we were on the tour up there is people had trouble finding their parking decks. So signage is important. I don't know that a big floating
The
P
P isn't really
is.
helpful.
Well, you need an arrow,
Gonna do
because
it.
they pulled up to the parking deck and said, where's the parking deck?
Right.
Well, and again, this is the one that'll be on Sawyer,
Oh, I
that they'll
understand.
be pulling in the road. On the parking deck side on Wisteria, that'll be the brick side, and there'll be the entrance there. They're actually looking at spelling out parking deck
Yeah.
above it.
Have it spelled out, parking deck and arrow.
With the arrow, yeah.
Right.
So that would make.
Well, it will be right above the doorway to go
Barbara, do
in.
you still have those pages that have a parking deck on them? Because the parking deck really will be, it's got a blade sign on it, it's got large letters on each entrance, they're
Yeah,
plain
but-
parking, so there will be, but that'll be part of the package you see.
I think that'll
Right,
get it.
but that won't be visible from Oak. And since the parking deck is,
Well, there's an entrance on.
Yeah,
Oak,
but
an
they've got,
entrance on-
see on this one, they've got a
Wisteria,
P sign there. you got the P sign there, and you
Remember,
got,
there's 3 entrances, Oak, North, and South.
this white
Right.
box is like a banner sign that,
Okay.
I don't know where that'll be.
That one was on Wisteria.
And is that on the apartments, or, oh, that'll be showing the parking deck,
Right,
so,
right, but they have that on the one in Alpharetta.
They had,
And
they just had
admittedly,
P over there. They just had P, and that's what people.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because now it says parking,
Yeah.
but,
But I think you can get, with those other ones, the little round one, you can put a steel post in the
There's
ground.
3 ways to get in the parking deck, right?
yes.
That's correct.
by helicopter too.
All right, I got another question. Are the apartments or condos gonna have a name?
Yes, but they haven't determined it yet.
Evidently, you don't control that.
Do you have a
We
suggestion?
might be able to make a suggestion.
The Emmett Flower Memorial
Well,
Apartments.
Clower wants Clower Tower, come
Saw your arms or something like that.
on. Yeah.
How many spaces in Alpharetta's deck? It's smaller.
200 and something.
But they have
What's
two
that?
decks.
250?
Yeah.
But they have two decks.
People won't have a hard time finding this.
They
deck.
said they paid like 35,000 a space.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, paid a lot.
Crazy. So did Gwinnett.
Knoxville's got a new deck there, it's nice out there by the lawn. It's just 2 stories there.
So
Yeah, well,
before
they
we
built
go
that in
too
connection
far-
with that hotel.
Before we get
I
too
can't
far from the
understand, they're not gonna put the
signage,
hotel on top of that, are they?
I don't know, but the hotel's using some of that parking.
So they had air duct vents in the parking lot, in the parking deck, and I thought.
I don't know where the hotel's going.
I thought it was going to the side, below it right there, that square there. It's a nice parking deck.
okay, so before we get too far from the signage, are they headed, can I tell them they're headed in the right direction? And I'll tell them you like the granite and you like the bases,
The stacked stone base.
and you're not so sure about the old
Not
time
crazy
50s
about the
microphone P. But if they're gonna do something, they wanna do something like that that makes the parking very evident.
Right,
You still have people asking where it is.
absolutely.
And I was, what do people think as far as the difference in color shown on page 6, option A and option C, as far as the background for the grove, because that's the only other thing that really jumps out.
I like the burgundy.
Option A,
The burgundy does follow everything that we're doing,
exactly.
but,
The green is the Grove color.
right.
You know,
And
I think they work together fine, because you can see even on that one, they've got the Snellville logo in burgundy and the Grove logo in the green.
Yeah,
So if
and
you have
again, depending on what you have in the background, it may actually work better as green, but.
I think on that kind of stuff right now, this is early, so let's let them keep moving forward, and then on the next iteration, you can be more particular about details and stuff. But right now, they just want to know they can keep moving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And Brian Miller, the deck designer, is now working with them. And that's one thing we'll have to think of, the big sign on the west side of the deck. Right now, it is just block letters. It's not the Grove, little o, little e. So you'll have to think about that.
Well, are you talking about where they had for the Grove?
Yes.
Because I had asked Kurt a long time ago if we could make that look like the logo.
Yeah, and that logo, Butch, on the deck was drawn before the logo was really in place, and they never replaced it.
Yeah.
I've heard the same thing, Bob, that it
Yeah.
will be the Grove logo up there.
Yeah, I think it needs to have the little O.
Yeah, it
Little
says
People
the Grove.
going down Wisteria are gonna have to look for the deck, because they got the apartments there. Not part of it.
Yeah.
But that's where the picture that Mayor had with the blade sign and the big, it'll have big letters, and that's why they want to put the blue, that's why they introduced that blue microphone P, is because they want to have it hanging on the side of the building there or something.
Yeah, because they're gonna go past that and not see that.
Yeah, because on here, like this would be the Wisteria sign, you may not be able to see it, but it says public parking there, and then it's got this blade sign that sticks out of the building here.
It should be pretty obvious, you would think.
Well, there's no doubt you need the minimum amount of signage to get people around, but you have to be careful about junking it up.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
too
right.
much signage, and that's terrible.
Well,
It
it all-
confuses
That's what this
people. So it's just have to find the right balance.
Well,
Billboard.
but truthfully, on Wisteria, having parking deck on the facade, looking at the street, someone driving along is not going to be able to see that. So that does absolutely no good.
Yeah.
So,
It just marks the entrance when they close.
There's plenty
they're
of room
committed
to-
by the time they get there.
Well, you could put a street
Ask Google
sign.
how to get there, and they'll know how to do it.
Sure.
Put a street sign with an arrow at the corner, it says
Yeah.
parking.
Yeah, there's plenty of
Yeah,
options.
Lots of ways to get around it.
They elected us, they got to be
Yeah.
smart, right?
That's not-
They'll make it.
But it's the out-of-town people we gotta worry about, Ty.
I just hire one of those people with the twirlies.
There you go.
All those mad people who just got a red speed ticket.
Yeah, they can work it off by being a parking sign.
You have to hold the
I
sign
remember
for
at
a
school
little bit.
today, it looks like
Oh, I know. They
But
jump
see,
up.
cameras.
if you go down Wisteria and you turn, and you miss the parking,
You're in a
you
mess.
turn, you go down North Road and you turn left on the Oak Road.
There's the
Then you go
entrance
back
on
to
North.
Clywood, you can't turn left to go back to the parking deck.
Well, that means you.
But there's an entrance on North.
Entrances to the parking deck.
You
But
can
I'm
do-
going back to where I missed it. See?
Yeah.
But you can take a left on North and then come in the parking deck off North.
I know, I was just.
Now you drive like Maxwell.
Your horse will work.
Yeah.
We'll all have autonomous cars anyway. Take us right there.
Anyway.
Okay.
No, but I'm getting people asking about the houses, really.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, people that I never thought would even contemplate doing that, are asking me about it.
Wanting to move in there?
Thinking about it.
Yeah.
When they mow the grass.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about housing, we were talking about this the other day a little bit, you kind of have to increase the area that you're looking at. Like a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people have called us about Snellville Oaks and redeveloping Snellville Oaks, if they could find a way to do it around the theater. And so you're going to get, I'm certain within a year, you're going to get a housing proposal, different type, mixed-use housing proposal at Snellville Oaks. To me, that's town center housing, especially when Eastgate, that Eastgate connector gets built. I think I have high hopes for Snellville Plaza and that side of Oak Road. John D. owns a big piece of ground right there.
No, BB&T owns that now. I asked him.
And, there's a lot of opportunity there for housing. Mixed use with retail and whatever happens to Snellville Plaza.
What about Ryan's?
There's another opportunity.
A couple of years ago, there was I forgot the guy's name, but he had a proposal for putting, I think it was townhomes there. So, the hope is that we attract that kind of investment. And,
I think you are already.
yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, I've gotten a little bit of pushback because we only have rental apartments. We don't have anything, fee simple. And I'm like,
Marshall's got regular.
right, and it's like, well, this is the first thing we're building, or that we're involved in. This isn't gonna be the entire town center. So you can't look at 250 rental units here and say, oh, that's it. We just don't know where and what might happen. That's part of the organic growth of, developing a town center area.
Doesn't the development authority own the building next to Snell's there?
Yep, the Bubbles, yep.
Yeah, if you remember Alpharetta.
Mr. Bubbles, it was a dog grooming place, Mr. Bubbles.
Yeah, Alpharetta said you needed 2,500 houses. There will be all kinds of mixes in that 2,500 houses. Big stuff, little.
Well,
stuff.
we've got 90 townhomes going in just past your studio.
80.
That is town center housing.
But I don't
So,
think they're gonna walk to the town, to the growth each separate.
I do.
You do?
I do. I think they'll come up, and I think they'll walk around Clower.
Maybe the Methodist Church ought to look again, housing back there.
Well, I got an email, that's moving. They applied for the tax credits.
Yeah, they did.
So that makes.
So that's probably going to spur.
The need needs to be bigger.
So I do think people from that development will walk to here. When you have enough mass here, if somebody wants to come to dinner and have a few drinks and not have to drive home, usually by then you need that good walk.
I could certainly see myself walking for the 4th of July event or something from there, or
Yeah.
other festivals and events where we
You just don't want to have to worry about parking and,
Or take the senior center bus.
yeah.
Well, I mean, we need to revisit the trolley
Trolley, yeah.
idea for sure.
Or the microbus or something, yeah.
Yeah.
There was people 4th of July that were walking past my house, walked all the way.
Oh, yeah.
to see 4th of July.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
like 4th of
The
July,
Methodist
they'll
Church
walk for
parking,
those.
the hill there was just, there was no grass, it was just all people. Of course, everybody hadn't done it for 2 years, they wanted to get out,
Yep,
they did.
yep.
New day.
Certainly will be. All right, well, let's move on to our update of ongoing projects that we haven't
Oh,
already
we're
touched
doing
on.
the work session, okay. Let's see, let's pass those around here.
I mean, are we good to do that?
Well,
Yeah.
well,
The food's coming about a quarter to.
Do we want, I mean, we keeping the whole class here for, what are we
They
gonna?
want to stay.
I think they pitch it back down. Has the DDA covered the things you wanted to cover? You got the answers that you wanted?
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, he didn't get answers, but he covered what he wanted to cover.
A lot of lip. Not a lot of response came back my way, so
Don, you're holding up progress there.
Oh, yeah.
In Capsu, don't put the roundabout at
We might be
Wisteria.
short.
Figure out how maintenance can do the cobblestone,
Yep.
and we'll have a good day.
So,
Well, and I think probably a good discussion with Butch on the
yeah, well, you need to-
property management. I'll be happy to be in on that too. Yeah.
What this includes. So if you don't-
Maybe if you can know what Butch and Kirk have
Oh,
been
That's what I need.
putting back and forth, yeah,
Circle.
yeah. And then they can make sure that they're covering any of your concerns and issues. Why don't we do that?
All right, sounds good.
So we're dismissed.
Look at that.
If you want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion to
Wow.
adjourn.
We got one
Get a
left.
second right here. All those in favor? Our meeting's adjourned.
Dan, we're glad you showed up. Dan, you got a tardy.
Yeah, I saw it.
You're not getting near the paper we can.
And, I mean, y'all are welcome to stay. You might want to hear the ongoing projects.
Oh, yeah.
Over 5 minutes.
Depends on how many questions I have.
The town center, we pretty much talked about, hopefully, the rock situation is behind us. The regular Kaiser call will take place this Wednesday, and we brought up the roundabout discussion. So those are just some things that are ongoing, and so we will have more conversation with the county. Human Resources, everybody will be glad to know that I made an offer to a gentleman named Matt Pepper, who is the current city manager in Oxford. He accepted, and he will start on August 23rd. And he's going to be here Wednesday here at City Hall for lunch if you want to stop by and meet him. And one of the first assignments, we're going to work on a total update of the personnel policy and procedures. We're behind in doing that, and we need to update that. We need to update job descriptions and our salary scale because it has gotten much more competitive. So that will be one of the first assignments. Roy Whitehead, have lunch with him this week. We're going to go over his contract and maps for starting to work on annexation. I'll bring that back to you, or I'll send it to you, and then we'll go over that at the next meeting. Sidewalk improvements, I think that item's on the agenda, Christie.
It is.
What would you like to discuss there?
Basically, what our next steps are. Have we had input from individuals on council that wanted to give us input? Have you had a chance to really look at what's proposed, the different phases that we suggested, those kinds of things? So,
In review, Pinehurst, Skyland, what are the other main roads?
Green Valley.
No. Our county roads, Pinehurst, basically any of the big roads are county maintained, so we're going to have to partner with the county one way, shape, or form on those. And those are the ones that we're on our phase 1 list to try to get done the soonest because they have the biggest impact on our communities. So I don't know how we go about doing that.
Well, we can start that discussion. I put a call into the county trails czar, if you will, and I said, we're done with phase 1 of the Greenway. We're bidding phase 2. The bids will be in next week, but we've got a plan to put sidewalks in on a lot of county-maintained roads. We need your help. Can you help us with county DOT? And what's your relationship? How do you? Because they've got plans to put it in the right of way all over the county. So we're going to have a meeting, and I'll let you guys know, and we'll see how if they have I think the county DOT representative or who was assigned to that responsibility got promoted and they're no longer. I don't know that they've filled that position. So it's obviously not a priority to them. But I'll let you know about that meeting, and maybe there's an in there.
If you guys get it figured out kind of on a staff level, what the county's thoughts and priorities are, then we could take that information and have a meeting with Jasper Watkins and see if we can't adjust some of the priorities if they're not what we'd like to see.
Yeah, and I have a contact with Gwinnett DOT. I can go to lunch with him and pick his brain, but I didn't want to subvert the process. But
well, and we're going to get Lewis over here for lunch. He feels pretty bad right now that they waited to the last second to bring up this roundabout issue.
Well, he should.
Yeah.
So we've got a little leverage there.
Yeah.
So we'll work on that. 78 and 124, vacation schedules in Atlanta have slowed us down there. I would like to put that on the agenda for our lunch and find out if we can make a better contact there. UDO and Alcoholic Beverage Code, everybody knows, we've got to put a little planning group together there and work with Chuck and Jay. We did receive our first ARPA check, $3.7 million. So that is, I know you guys are going to Savannah. I would ask all of you to go to that update meeting there. I don't think it's part of your training. I think it's a separate
Right,
session.
It's a separate session.
So,
General session.
and
It is.
so that,
Okay.
I think there are probably a couple of meetings on that. So,
What do y'all do with that money?
what's that?
Well, that's what they're still kind of loosening rules on what we can do with it.
Yeah, we don't have any final rules yet, but I would say that given the creativity on this council, that we're going to find a way to use it for what we
What
want.
we want, infrastructure.
But we need to make sure, because it will be
Sidewalks,
audited.
traffic calming in neighborhoods that need it,
Greenway trails.
Greenway trails. We got our ideas anyway.
Yeah, and since it is to help with recover from the pandemic, I would also like to, and I've talked to Chuck about this, I know, a couple of local charities that help with our needy. Oh, look at the look on his face.
That's a tougher
Yeah.
area.
You're getting in a gray area.
Yeah, I know.
Gray
No,
area.
but I'm wondering if we can do it through, like, the county's homeless and rental assistance and utility assistance programs have been run by Home First, which is part of United Way, but it's also, their Home First is the county initiative. And I'm wondering if we can provide a pot of money for Home First to administer on our behalf. But they've already got the programs all in place to
Right.
help with rental assistance. Can we do that?
I'm friends with Bob Clark, and Lawrenceville just bought a motel,
Yeah,
Right.
To tear it down.
yeah, 7 million.
and they're spending $750,000 for Home First to take care of people they're kicking out.
But
They're getting rid of all their
Yeah.
extended stay hotels.
Yeah.
And this, he can tell you that's where the crime comes, is extended stays.
does Dan know a lot about crime?
No.
Oh,
Dan's
Just
like,
curious.
talking to him. You don't want extended stays. Paul Crawford's got 5.
We've got one. we know.
Right, right.
Yeah, well, we tightened up our hotel ordinances to,
That's the second.
To
Is that
make
what
it-
the hospital considers?
Yes.
that's extended stay,
And
yeah.
that's grandfather unit.
And through our negotiation, I mean, they've made a lot of upgrades and a lot of improvements over there. I mean, Greg, haven't things gone much better over there?
Our calls have gone down there. It used to be absolutely horrible. They put up block cameras so every car that comes in and out gets documented, so we have a tracking, and they know that. The people who live there know that. They've stopped all congregating outside unless it's a planned event by the hotel, and that's helped out a good deal. So they have made improvements.
Are one of our guys working security there?
No.
No.
Ziggy does.
Timothy
Timothy
Ziggy Simmons.
Yeah.
But I think there's got to be a way for us, because we're allowed to use that money for those things.
I think as long as it's along the line, and Jay and I are working on that, there's been a lot of discussion on the GMA's new listserv about how to handle those. You can't give the money to a charity, but I think along the lines of if a charitable organization is administering a program on behalf of us, then that gets us into a much more tenable situation. So
It's kind of like just the discussion about, in a budget, if you are providing, you can't provide funding, it's looked at as a gratuity to an organization, but you can contract with them for a service, so.
I know Lawrenceville does that with Impact 46.
Because there's a lot of cities that provide social services, and that's what you're talking about doing.
That is not a
And I don't necessarily want the city of Snellville to get involved and start up administering programs and actually taking applications and giving out money or paying rent or utilities.
I think that's the reason Lawrenceville did that, they
Right. I want to, if we could do it through organizations that are already established, why should we recreate that wheel?
Right, but I'm sure we could just as if I give a charitable donation to the Lions Club, I can direct where it goes.
Right.
So,
Wouldn't the organization would have to track that money being used for someone in the city of Snellville?
oh, absolutely.
How difficult would that
Absolutely.
be?
Well,
How much of a burden is that?
Depends on the
Depends on
organization.
Yeah, it depends on how the organization wants
Right.
to administer it or not, so.
Yeah,
But
that's
we'll-
usually in the
we'll-
contract. You know, they have to do an audit, and you have open books.
But they're probably already doing that with the county.
yeah.
I mean, Home First would, I would think would be.
The Briscoe Park Master Plan update. I thought that was a very good meeting we had last week. We're compiling all the information and coming up with the public outreach options and schedule. Tax billing is still on target. Everything is moving along. We're working on with the stormwater. Melissa answered a question just today about making sure that there's no conflict with the CID billing, and there's not. The county will continue to do their 5 mil billing there. And quality of life, I know we have a little more discussion on the noise ordinance coming up after we received input from Greg, and I think Gretchen sent out an email today, so I think that's the next item.
And just, if I can, on the tax billing, if you all hadn't seen, just to kind of reiterate what a good decision I think you all have made, Grayson, which only does tax collection, tried to take advantage of the new state law, and I believe today they actually had to file their lawsuit against the tax commissioner.
There's an article in the paper that
It's in the paper.
was it?
Okay, well,
You know who the lawyer is?
yeah, well, I was in court with him this morning, so that's how I was against him, so.
No, her lawyer is Leah Sears.
Oh, yeah, theirs is Leah Sears, and Lee represents the city of
I
Grayson.
understand Lawrenceville, or Grayson got a 9-page letter from Leah telling them
Yep.
all the reasons they're wrong.
So is the CID getting charged?
No,
to
because that's
bill?
not part of, I brought that up, and that's not part of the, that was never part of the,
So she does that for them for free?
yes. I think they still may charge, but on a per parcel basis that goes to the county, not in her pocket.
Wow.
So how is she doing that without charging them an additional fee?
Because apparently that's not in the original legislation. If you collect for a city, you can charge. If you collect for CID, you can't.
That sounds like we're a CID now.
I think we are.
I move that we convert from a corporation
Second.
to a CID.
Wait a minute, don't vote on that.
Hang on a minute.
The lawyer says no.
He said it wasn't properly advertised.
It wasn't a proper motion.
Chair can't make a motion.
I can't make a motion, so it's invalid.
Point of order.
Okay.
Say you're out of order.
Oh my goodness, again?
Again.
It's the first time I've heard that in a long time.
Where did you hear that from? I can't remember. Where did you hear that?
And I didn't even say it. Okay, now we're on item C, discussion of the noise ordinance.
I've made the changes that Greg suggested, and I printed them out for everyone. And then the current Snellville ordinance has a special permit division, so I also printed that out if you guys want to look at that and see if you're happy with it or if you want to make changes.
There were a couple areas I thought we hadn't reached agreement yet as a council. Well, I sent the email out where I put all the changes in there Greg recommended. But there were two areas that I felt we hadn't yet agreed on. And one was the consumer fireworks, whether we're going to add June 19th to that, or if we're going to leave it.
You mean extended hours on June 19th?
Yes.
Yes.
Because it's to 9 o'clock.
Yeah, as it is now, they're allowed between 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. any day of the year. And the holidays that we're required to allow them by state law are January 1st until 1 a.m., the last Saturday and Sunday in May until 11:59 p.m., July 3rd and 4th, and the first Monday in September. But whether we add anything else to that, we have to decide on
Well,
that.
seeing that on June 19th, it's 2 days before the longest day of the year, by 9 p.m. it's not even dark.
Right.
So I think it would be kind of ridiculous to limit fireworks to
Daytime, daylight.
and then, wow,
So is y'all's idea, you're gonna pass this and then His guys are gonna go out, knock on the door and tell them they're violating the noise ordinance?
No, it's, I hope not.
And what Caroline put together is there's just a red line with the proposed changes that Gretchen made from the last time. So if we want to change any of that, we can just mark out those red lines and whatever y'all want, but it just aids in discussion.
It would be complaint driven.
Right. Like COVID.
A lot of people want to complain, but don't give you their name. Or give you some false name. That's not it.
Well, that's been kind of the approach on this all along. They started with the county's ordinance and then really taking a look at the practicality of enforcement and what are you really going to do. So that's everybody's made a lot of changes and adjustments, and then the police department took a look at it and just made some adjustments that are incorporated in this now, right?
Yes, but there's still the tables with all the feet on them.
Yes.
So
There's still the what, Carolyn?
the tables with all the feet.
Oh, yeah, the feet, okay.
Well, if we confuse the public enough,
Interpret
we're safe, right?
Then they don't know why they got that ticket exactly.
And then one other area I didn't know that we reached agreement on was whether we wanted to issue a special noise permit
And I think that's
for
what
violating
Caroline,
the ordinance.
I think Caroline says there's already a provision in the code for such a permit. So then the question is whether or not you all wish to keep that, or you wish to modify it, or you wish to get rid of it.
How many applications have we had?
That's a good question.
Assuming y'all didn't know that y'all had one, probably not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably not
Yeah.
very many.
Yeah.
So this is what we've already got, the
That's-
special permits.
I want to know hey clerk, what's the fee for a noise ordinance violation permit?
$1,000.
Okay.
Is it, seriously?
No. Is it?
If Melissa said it, it's true.
I think it's wise to give the option. It's been there since 1977. You can see how much it's used, but I think it still needs to be there.
You can always deny an application.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how would you deny it?
Make noise.
For what reason, when you approve citizen A, how do you deny citizen
If
B?
you're having a graduation party or
Drunk party, food.
something. Yeah.
Since nobody apparently has ever used it, I think we
Valid.
This says, under conditions for issuance, the mayor shall, not may, it shall grant a special permit under the provisions of this division upon a showing by the applicant that additional time is necessary to alter or modify the activity in order to comply with the provisions. 2, the activity, operation, or noise source will be of a temporary duration and cannot be done in a manner that would comply with the provisions of this article. And 3, no reasonable alternative is available to the applicant.
cannot be done in a manner that would comply with the provision.
So
With the prohibition.
our little conversation down here is Summit Chase as a wedding venue. It's in a residential area. So that may actually affect him. His legal mind is poring over it now, but the
Well, at $1,000 a pop for a special use permit, we're going to get rich. Weddings are already expensive, right?
And I'm just, I know, because we had the issue with the noise ordinance, the pool party we had a while back, and
Yeah, I
the
heard
police came,
that.
and they told me I couldn't be doing that after 9 o'clock. So, because I'm in a funky place, when I'm in a residential community, and I'm, wanting to build a wedding, for that in the future, so it's going to happen.
Loud band.
So-
There are live bands in, inside the clubhouse or whatever.
So I think it's important to have a carve out, and we have a business.
But that's just,
that has-
maybe a special, my situation is a special use permit anyway, right?
How many requests for fireworks have you had?
I've never done fireworks.
Problem
I've
solved.
never did it.
He's got his fingers crossed, but
I just think it's a problem
While
waiting
you're
to happen.
marrying the right person, you should have fireworks.
well, again, if we see, if the provision is in the law and there starts to be complaints, then we can start actively doing a permit. Whereas if it's not in there, then we have to shut down somebody who's doing what is currently considered legal business and go through the whole process of amending an ordinance, which is going to take 45 days minimum in order to get it back in compliance, and I wouldn't want to hamstring a business in the city, even if it is done, to that extent. So that's why I think you got to have that out. Got to have that option. And I'd probably say to be a little less than $1,000.
950? Well, for businesses, my concern is, I want to have fireworks at whatever celebration, and I've got neighbors 10 feet away on either side. You're going to get complaints.
Or you go tell them that you're going to do fireworks, invite them over, they don't bother you.
It doesn't matter. There are complainers everywhere. No, but there are some people who legitimately have issues with it, and I don't think it's fair to subject somebody, just because I want to have you want to have fireworks, go to Briscoe Park, go somewhere else. Don't do it out of your house.
They do it now anyway.
I know, and we get complaints.
Right. And we have an ordinance that's
And within
only
20 minutes,
unenforceable.
they're done and the complaint's over.
Okay.
And then somebody else starts.
The dog run off.
They do it all
Hey,
night.
we don't have to do anything. We can drop the, we can
I mean,
drop
this-
it, not move forward at all.
This is just one of these things where it's like, when you want to have some enforcement, you need to have some kind of law behind you, but for most of the time, you just don't want to deal with any of it, you
Right.
know?
Right, that's
It
exactly.
usually works itself out. What would you say, chief? He's just so
Many words.
He is a
Well,
man
it's
of
just,
few
I'll
words.
give you an example. I had a person across the street that used to complain about our mowers.
Complain if you don't.
We were mowing the putting green, and we mowed the putting green at 6:30, 7 o'clock, whatever it is, first of the day, and, that was my business, I had to do it. And we just made sure I talked across the street, I'm sure, I think Bush and them got calls left and right. I know Jason was calling me, telling me, what are you doing? I was like, I talk to her now all the time, to make sure she's okay. So you don't have a two-cycle engine going, blowers and things like that going into the neighborhood, right? Just trying to stay away from that. So we saw it. That's going to happen all the time.
When a Dave's
I'm sure these neighbors will tell you.
Do they have to have a reason to turn down a special use permit?
But it's,
But you
Well,
could
that's
be
the problem.
worse
The
than
language,
police officers.
the language in
Doesn't
that
give
one,
reasons.
it says shall. It's,
I think you changed
I
that.
think we need to reconsider that permit language,
yeah, I mean,
especially since shall.
This
It doesn't
permit
give
should
me-
be rare.
it doesn't give you an out if they presented those three things.
Shall today.
That's happened to me. If it's loud, like we have in the pool board, this 2 houses call every time, and they can't even shut me down. It's fine, I argued because I thought the door was 11 o'clock, not 9, but, at that point in time.
But see, and if he had a special use permit,
Yeah, but you don't want to have to, I mean,
Every
let's
time
say
he has
he's
a
going to
wedding.
do wedding venue there. You don't want to have to come get a special use permit every Friday and Saturday night.
is it better for him to get shut down every Friday and Saturday night?
Well, it's better to have the rules that allow
Okay.
a business to function.
Well, then, let's make those rules figure out how to put them in.
Right.
Not fair to make the right thing with me.
Yeah.
They are.
You're trying to write an ordinance for very few people. Most people are happy and content.
Well, but we're also trying to write an ordinance that protects the rest of us from those 2 people who call every time you take your dog out and it barks.
Well, let me tell you this. Randy Simpson, who's now passed away, used to complain constantly. Some of y'all don't, some of you do know that.
Yeah.
The manager on Constitution was stacking papers in the corner there, the shopping center over here, used to be Treasures for Your Home. And he called me that night, and then he didn't get the help he needed. He got a hold of Jack Tarver, president of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and woke him up. Now, how he got that number, I have no idea. Those papers got moved. They never were there again.
See, and a private citizen did that all on his own. It took us years to get the AJC to stop throwing their ad garbage out on everybody's driveways.
Because we didn't enlist Randy.
You didn't call the president?
Yeah, I guess, in the middle of the night.
Food's here if you want to take a break. You've got enough for everybody.
If y'all want to take a break, discussion on this can continue, because then we just have the sidewalk master plan. Do we need to talk some more on that?
Yeah, a little bit more, I think.
Huh? And exactly, how long do we need for that?
Probably about 10 minutes.
Do we need?
Okay, so let's make sure.
Any DDA members for that? Nope.
Chance for potty breaks and everything. So if we could just get back to, we were on the noise ordinance. And so Gretchen, you want to
Well,
bring up?
I just feel like I need some more guidance on this as to where we go next. And I don't know if it would be helpful to form a committee and maybe get input from people like Don. Or what would be the next best step for this?
Does anybody have any thoughts on next best steps?
I got an idea. What if we were to bring some kind of, I don't know how you would do it, like a speaker, and then we could play sounds at certain decibel levels, just so you could get an idea of what that sounds like. I mean, seriously, because I think you'd be surprised, like, what 100 decibels sounds like versus, those other ones. I mean, I guess it's not really in decibels, but when Greg and I were talking, and like 50 feet, we can talk to each other across the room in a normal voice and 50 feet. So I just think that we're real careful. Maybe, maybe do some kind of maybe field exercise or something to just kind of understand what those numbers mean. I don't know, just something that puts it in context, because I think all the numbers, once you just see numbers and distances, like, to me, it always helps to like put myself in that situation and kind of get a feel for what that actually means, and then maybe you can get a better grasp of what the numbers really should mean just by Gwinnett, or we could call Gwinnett County Code Enforcement or the police department and see, just kind of feel them out and see where their issues have come from, and if they could change it. I mean, I think those would be good next steps to this thing. Maybe a little more on the ground info would help instead of just kind of beating up the numbers.
Well,
I know
Greg,
one thing that bothers me to some extent are all these loud mufflers in cars you hear. Like sometimes, I always like my bedroom window open a little bit at night just because I like to hear the owls and all that. But I mean, sometimes it sounds like you're in Monte Carlo on the Grand Prix out there, with all the loud cars and mufflers.
You're next to Dave.
I've heard about those.
Come spend a night at Pinehurst Manor.
Yeah.
You'll know what.
My neighbor is one such offender.
But so I guess I get that and how aggravating that is, but what do you expect to be done about that? Do you expect that if a loud muffler is going down the road that the police are going to stop them and pull them over in violation?
Is that Is that feasible?
But the cars are built,
No,
some
it's
cars
not.
are built like that. though.
Well, we would have to be we could possibly stop them based on reasonable suspicion, but if they have a working muffler that
Yeah.
is, I mean, it's
I thought
in
they
working
did.
condition, then there's no violation.
Well,
I
we'd
mean, just
have,
because it's loud doesn't mean it's not working.
right, we would have to specify in the noise ordinance and then enforce the noise ordinance through the city code, right? I mean, if you did specify, but then you have to level it, you know, I mean, you'd have to know what's the cutoff point between mild, aggravating, and low, because I think there is one, but. it's what
Greg, wasn't your point of view that how are you going to administer all this? Is the officer going to have a dB meter and go out? What's your perspective? Because I know you had a little bit different approach.
The way it's always been done, I mean, we were talking about, or what y'all were talking about Gwinnett County before. I know Gwinnett County, the way they're handling this new ordinance, because they just passed this, right? Is they're doing it the same way they always have. They get a noise complaint, they go out and they quiet the noise complaint and leave. I mean, they're not writing tickets or warning tickets or anything like that. And we would most likely do the same if y'all allow us to have that discretion. I mean, that discretion is very important, but also don't want to, I would hate to have an ordinance that prohibits us from writing a ticket for someone that I can hear 5 blocks away. I mean, those kind of people should receive a ticket because they're causing problems amongst the entire neighborhood.
And vice versa.
Because that's where it goes back to what the reasonable part of the old ordinance was. It was, I mean, completely unreasonable to be able to hear somebody from half a mile away. But we just don't want to have large lots and the neighbors next door goes to the edge of their property line and say, oh, I got you. And I could see that happening with this sort of people.
Well, for example, I saw a Facebook post this morning, that I won't say who made the post, but this person was saying they were out checking noise levels in the town center.
I wonder who that could be.
Huh. Who has that kind of time on their hands?
So
Back up.
No.
Back up.
They, you know,
So
that's
I mean, we could still handle the violations as they come up. And if it's egregious, we can write the ticket right away. If it's not, we can give them warning.
Well, that's why we changed that,
Right.
the penalties to say you could
Right.
issue a citation even on the first occurrence.
But, I mean, until something like this is passed, and I do think, after hearing Don talk about some of the days, Saturday and Sunday in a residential area at 50 feet, I mean, they couldn't even have a pool party.
Yeah.
And that's not fair. It's not fair for the community.
Or mow their yard.
Yeah.
And I mean, anybody who's living in any of those houses now bought the house knowing they're across the street from a pool and a clubhouse. And so I think, you know, too, I remember I got a complaint, it wasn't even for me, for the city, because it's down off of Annistown Road. But a guy's house kind of backs up to Annistown Road, and he was talking about all the racing and the loud noises and everything going down Annistown Road. And it's like, Annistown Road has been there for a very, very long time. And you bought a house that's near a fairly major road. I mean, it's like, these are some of the things that go along with it. So you can't start putting in all sorts of rules to limit things that are just naturally
That's standard. There'll be an
occurring.
airport there for 20 years and they build houses. People move in knowing the airport's right next door and then complain.
And then complain.
yeah, which is a lot different from the reverse of that.
But, you know, and so I don't know. I think what Jason's talking about, doing some field exercises might be a good activity to do.
Our state representative sent me a app, or a thing for an app that is a decibel meter that you can use on your phone.
Oh, nice.
Great. Now I'll have
They got
19,000 people with decimal meters that can go out and be checking
That's the
everything.
name.
I didn't download it yet.
No, I didn't either. Evidently, we're not supposed to share it with anybody else.
Yeah, we don't necessarily want to share that app, that app's available on
Yeah.
our Facebook page.
That's the issue that you run into with very stringent measures, or as far as like quantitative measures. You can't play the gray area kinda, use your discretion, then somebody like some of our favorite neighbors in Skyland Glen could call and have a grudge with his neighbor, and he could be using the blower on the back corner of his house, you know, there'd just be, then we would have to act, and if we didn't, then, you know, we're held responsible because we didn't follow the rules, so.
Well, our initial thoughts on this were, Gwinnett County adopted a new ordinance. Wow, look at this, it's so detailed, it's so great. Certainly, they've put some real thought into this. And so we said, let's try to be consistent with our neighbors. And quite frankly, I think we need to gut this down to something that's smart, easy, manageable, and be done with it. Because the more,
Spent a lot of time on
the
this.
more individual issues we try to solve, the more unintended consequences we are going to have, which means, well, we're just going to create more issues for our citizens on both ends of that.
Well, and you just create more and more, everybody's unhappy.
Right. See, so unhappy, our state representative is packing up and leaving.
Don't forget your keys.
Oh, thank you, Bill.
You won't go very far.
Yeah, no. Thanks for coming. You really were a big help.
Oh, yeah, you all decibel meter, you're welcome.
So I would say let's step back and maybe whoever wants to make form a committee and really pare it down to bare bones.
Well, will somebody serve on a committee with me? We can really,
Sure.
the three of us.
Because you hate noise and I like it, it'd be perfect.
Okay.
Well, you can't hear it, so.
What?
Yeah, really.
You got Dave.
I volunteer Butch because he can't hear.
It's got to be allowed to get his attention.
That's what that's it. We bring Butch out, and if he can hear it, it's too loud.
Yeah, Greg, would you be willing to work with us too?
Well, why don't we get together, pare it down some, and then meet with Greg? I'll be happy
And
to.
maybe get Don's input.
Yeah.
You want me to pull the sister cities and just see how they're
That'd be
doing?
great.
I mean,
Yeah, see if they have anything newer than 1977.
I mean, there's a million different ways to finish that.
You, please, if you want to be on the noise,
Be on something.
Be on
you
the
can
noise
have
committee?
it. It's all
You
yours.
could be on the noise committee.
Can I just say something?
No, you're just making
Please.
noise.
The two things we see in our neighborhood, you know, that people are complaining about are the fireworks and the loud noise of, you know, these idiots that have such loud mufflers. And isn't it in our regs or the police regs that you can't change your muffler to something other than, you know, a factory approved or whatever comes out of the factory? You're not allowed to do that, isn't that the law?
It just has to be in good working condition.
Okay. But,
Yeah,
like-
Melissa's running up there, just like, oh my God, Melissa's going. I'm gonna get a chicken every time I go to work. Stop.
Yeah,
But if, you know, if you could just,
Well, you know, Kurt,
guys, stop, hang on, stop, you know, these wingnuts out there that are just screaming. I mean, we can hear them going down Oak Road for at least a mile. I mean, you hear them for, you know, 40, 50 seconds going down there. Even at the farmer's market, you know, we'll have these guys coming by that are just, you know, so loud. We've got an officer right there. You know, couldn't somehow that be stopped? I mean, you know, get the word out, you know, is what I'm saying. But anyway, just.
I mean, yeah, without a full inspection of the vehicle, and we had one, we had a complaint down off Skyland Drive, the vehicle running stop signs and had a loud muffler, officer Todd stopped and inspected the muffler, found out that it wasn't working properly, and wrote a ticket. So it can happen, but as opposed to, it would help us greatly if people would tell us, hey, this guy leaves the house at 8 o'clock in the morning every single day, he runs this stop sign, so we have the ability to go out and actually look for him. Because
You can't just hope to find somebody or.
I hope to find somebody who's actually bothering somebody. I mean, because a lot of people aren't bothered by it.
But if you hear these loud mufflers, I mean, you can certainly, like you said, you can hear them for blocks away or whatever. Don't you have the authority to, stop it?
Yeah, to possibly make a stop, but you're also, police do not, they normally like to make what's called a probable cause. I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but they would rather make a probable cause stop where they know they have a violation as opposed to a reasonable suspicion stop where somebody goes and tells them to pound sand and they hit that. So it's a more dangerous thing for the police to make a reasonable suspicion stop as far as their ability to enforce any kind of issue there.
Okay. And thank you for the SPD at the market. An incident out there 2 weeks ago. Thank you very much.
Most of the noise is usually because of the way they're driving. The mufflers are loud. But if they're just cruising, typically it's not all that objectionable. It's when they're on.
Where they accelerate.
Key lock of the driveway.
Yeah.
5:45
The mufflers are legal.
And, if it's a neighbor that's cruising by, like Greg said, same street, certain times every day, it's one thing. To have somebody just driving by on Oak Road, they could be from anywhere.
Yeah.
And so you pull them over and to inform them that, oh, when you come in the city limits, you're not allowed to have this muffler on your car. I don't know.
I paid for my car, ma'am. That type of thing, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that
Yeah.
that really works so much.
Well, I guess we'll try to see how we can pare it all down and something.
Well, maybe if we attack, what are the major issues? Cut out a lot of this little construction stuff and.
Well, we took out construction noise. I can't.
Except, and just
Except
keep
for
the
certain
times of the
hours.
day, right. Keep it to reasonable times of the day, that kind of stuff, and just pare down everything else and try to really attack the issues, the fireworks. And again, fireworks are a little bit easier, I think. You can definitely hear those, but most of the time people are shooting them off for 15, 20 minutes. By the time the police get out there, they're like, well, we're done anyway.
Could there be like a nuisance clause in there where we could not necessarily abate a nuisance, but we had one in our old code enforcement where like if something was habitual and bothersome that wasn't specifically in the ordinance, that an officer, before it was just a code enforcement officer, and we used it on stuff that wasn't covered specifically by the code, but that could be considered a nuisance. Could there be some kind of, like if it's every day, besides just your regular car moving by, is there any way we could have some kind of like nuisance declaration if it was something repetitive that continued to bother everybody? And
Well, yeah, I mean,
we could
there's-
handle something like that for those extreme cases where, because I had a guy where I used to live that did it on purpose. He would turn his stereo up every time at like 2 a.m. and come by the house, and my stepdad would come out there all mad. He'd just laugh and go home. But, stuff like that.
Sure. I mean, if there's something.
Maybe to address some of the stuff that we can't, and not overly broad, but a process that we have to prove that there's a nuisance that's occurring. I don't know whether that occurs, it comes to the mayor and council like it does now, or, however you want to handle it, but it helped in our last,
I mean, that would just be a nuisance. I mean, that would be the health, safety, morals,
it gives you a little more discretion. I don't know how far that goes as far as, being able to prosecute.
Well, I mean, it's just a general code. I mean,
But we haven't applied it to noise.
Right.
Well, because the process now is very
it's hard.
Convoluted, not convoluted and as in bad, but very complicated. So you have to file with Melissa, and then you have to follow the steps. So most of the time we give them that option, and they're like, no, we don't want to do all that. So we try to fix it where we can. Sometimes we can't, whatever the code.
Well, could you poll other, like
I'll
suggest
pull like 5 cities in Gwinnett
cities and let's
see.
just see what they're doing?
Yeah, we can pull it. I can send you the links to all their noise ordinances and you can look through and,
Lilburn has been in the news about a noise ordinance lately.
all right,
I know
so I'll
that
pull
one they've come
Lilburn,
up.
any of those, kinda, I think
I think I saw that too,
Yeah,
yeah.
I sent you that link. when it
Lilburn, we can
came
pick a
across
few
it.
from every part of the county, a little rural, more rural, not that there's
Yeah,
much left of
let's,
that, but
let's
then.
start with that anyway and see what we can,
I like being on board with the county, I just think unless you're ready to give broad discretion and the judge is willing to do that, it could be a problem for certain, just certain times. I'll pull them and get them out.
Isn't it widely true that if you have a problem and the police roll by, 80% of the time, it goes away as soon as they're contacted? So you're really looking at the persistent cases that no matter what happens, they're going to make noise. And in that case, you need something where you can say, no, you're not, here's your ticket, see you in court. So I think if you get down into the marbles of, well, if you do this for 5 minutes, you're going to get a ticket, nobody's going to enforce that. And if there is a complaint and the police roll by and it solves it, we're done.
okay, well, we'll start with looking at what other cities are doing.
And maybe not just their ordinance, but what kind of issues that they've had come up with it, if any.
I just sent everybody a copy of the Lilburn article on
There it is.
Gwinnett Daily Post from Lilburn.
Dean? Just got it. Yeah, that's the one I sent.
You did it so quietly, there was no noise.
I deemed.
Not in violation.
No.
Okay,
No, I didn't include you. I thought maybe you could do your own work, but that's
I
okay.
can forward it to you.
I'm assuming
You didn't
this
give me an
picture
address.
is of our nuisance.
That is a nuisance house.
It is, and that's,
What's the problem here? No, what's the problem?
that's been a
I just
while.
forwarded it.
So that is probably
Oh,
worse.
thank you.
That's from 6 months
My
ago.
touch screen's faster than your touch
Nothing's
screen.
been done since.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of got,
Oh,
in the shuffle, it's kind of fallen. Like I said, you don't have a lot of people making complaints down there.
What's this address?
Grand Central Boulevard,
Oh, okay, yeah.
Grand Central Station.
Go
It's
take a
down-
look down there.
down
It's
by
better.
Hidden-
I'm telling you,
Hidden
everywhere
Forest.
is better now. It's been
Yeah.
a lot better, but
Oh, these are the people who live in New York? I think I know this house.
yeah, it's been a problem,
Yeah.
obviously, and people are complaining and,
I can see why they're complaining.
yeah, and that's probably on the way to better days, so.
Whatever happened? to
The
one
abater will
first
be on the
court,
case.
you heard?
I'll follow up.
I've sent John
We
there.
had a house in our neighborhood that was probably
Yeah.
worse than this. I mean, you could hardly see the house because of all the growth of the shrubbery. It was, and I think code enforcement did talk to them because it's all been cut back.
Well, we talked to them, but technically, the way the code's written, it's basically cultivated or uncultivated vegetation can't be larger than 12 inches. So technically, they don't, if it's a tree a shrub that can grow 30 feet, they can let it grow. But we normally just say, hey, can you do a little maintenance and they.
Couldn't even see the house except for the garage doors pretty much.
Remember the one on the end of the cul-de-sac got like that for a while? Remember that one at the very end, the White House that went through
Yeah.
all that for a while? What was the address?
Okay,
3208.
and then, did we want to go back to the
3208,
sidewalk
I
master
think.
plan?
Yes,
We could do that, maybe 10 minutes?
sure.
Wait, we still have to have time for a
Exec session.
Exec
Oh,
session.
we got plenty of time.
Plenty of time, it's only 7. So.
This was nice to have an extra long work session for a change, to really get some things accomplished.
Just not on the day, first day we go back to school. Film anything, but it's okay. So sidewalks, so, uh-oh.
Done that.
Oh, and then God doesn't want us talking about
Oh,
sidewalks.
no, Tiger's still outside. So, the stages, the steps in which we are proceeding to accomplish sidewalks, what we need to do next, or just kind of firm this up, staff and mayor and council input to this plan? I don't know that we fully have had that yet, if there is any.
Yeah, I haven't really, I don't think I've dived into it enough to give you feedback. But I mean, what I've seen, I'm on board with everything that you're looking at.
I mean, I think
Maybe
it's,
needs a few more details.
you could go through and nuts and bolts it, but why? I think you guys have done a really good job identifying, so why reinvent it and go over something?
Yeah,
you
we
guys-
felt it gave a good
Felt
picture
really good about
for
it.
years to come, really. We
The-
felt.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The thing that I think we have to make a decision about is whether or not we want to put the trail that runs from Summit Chase down through Skyland Glen on our future trail map. And because that is slightly different than just your standard sidewalk. We probably need to get input from the PD and look at other places, whether it's Swanee or Lilburn, that has had trails that have to be slightly watched over. That's a little different than just, I don't want to slide that in on standard, we've got sidewalks on Perry Street.
Why don't we separate those two
They are.
and take those out of this plan so we can try and move forward with the sidewalk aspect of
Yeah,
it?
because we have we have that master plan that they did, and that we need to get rewritten, so you could make the sidewalks, and then that could provide you policy, basically when you could scale them, just like they do in Public Works, and then finance them as you're able to.
Right, but it's just a separate type of project.
I agree.
Yeah, well, I would put that
Why
one,
don't we take it out?
pull that one out and put it on our
Of this.
Greenway master plan.
Right.
And the question that came up in my mind, we have a short section of sidewalk that connects Summit Place neighborhood to Timberline Drive across the property that the city owns, because that gives connectivity between those two communities. If we do that, and I didn't want to push forward to get a sidewalk on Timberline because my dad walks that street. I didn't want it to look like, I'm pushing a sidewalk for the mayor or something.
I, on the other hand, have no problem pushing for my neighborhood.
Well, I've just got so many neighborhoods. So I think adding to that plan, Timberline might be good because it would go down and connect to the sidewalk at Summit Chase, plus then give us connectivity to Summit Place. Does that make sense?
What? Yes, but that could, you're talking about not necessarily a sidewalk, but a connectivity issue that would be probably, I think, better served on the Greenway plan, if we could take that kind of issue. and
No,
put it
I
over
think
there.
that would, I agree with Todd that would just be sidewalk.
Oh, you want sidewalk on Timberland?
Yeah, if that were,
Okay.
if that were sidewalk, then anybody walking through Summit Chase could walk down Timberline, which happens a lot,
Okay,
and then
We can
on
make that
over to
adjustment.
Summit Place.
and get that, because that's a baby one right there.
And that would be all sidewalk.
And
yeah.
the issue is really from Summit Chase. The more immediate issue is more from Summit Chase across the dam. And then the connectivity.
Well,
between-
that may not be able to happen.
Oh, I know.
Thinking about that, we may not be, probably can't add a sidewalk to the dam across Timberline.
Yeah, well, true, because you'd end up having to take out those trees, and we don't want to.
Well, that, and for us to build any more
Yeah, we don't
on that
wanna-
dam,
We don't want to, yeah, okay.
We could spray, we could stripe there, over the dam? Because that's pretty wide right there. Isn't it more than 24 feet? Or is it just
Maybe,
that far?
but it's, when you're going like this.
When you're going on those curves, everybody cuts the curves off anyway. I mean, it's a little
It
dangerous.
gets opened up on that straightaway, doesn't it?
Yeah. People come down Timberline and hit that curve.
And slingshot.
People, Greg,
And it's good during the winter because all the leaves are down and you can see what's coming around the curve. It's
Right.
not so good in the summer
Right, I
when you
got you.
can't, yeah. I mean, there's a couple of spots that are a little dicey there when you're walking. I don't think it would be wise for us to build anything on the dam. But we could start across, once you get across the dam. And then you're just on a little stretch where you're on your own.
Yeah, because there's walking area. It's on
There
grass.
is, you can go beyond the grass,
So it's,
under the trees.
traversing from Summit Chase down to, as you drop, there's about a 15-foot elevation difference between Summit Chase and the top of the dam. That area that you traverse is tough because it's blocked by the sign. You have to be in the road. Visibility is kind of bad because
And it falls off on
Yeah.
the side.
you have people making turns off of Summit Chase onto Timberline, and the sight distance is pretty poor. So walking in that area is scary. And I see people doing it all the time. So evidently they've learned how to live.
Dangerous.
So
Just pay attention.
We want to add walks connecting Summit Chase down Timber Lane, because we didn't do that.
Timberline.
Timberline, sorry.
Start from across the dam on Timberline.
Across the dam,
Down to
which is
Summit
right
Place.
here.
yeah, I'll
Okay,
I'll
right
update it
here,
on the map.
down,
Yeah.
and then connect, we've already got this red connection, so that would be an addition, okay. Cool, we did think that in the first
Yeah.
place, yeah.
We
And-
talked about that.
And then if we are able to get that trail,
And that could be a,
then you can make a connectivity from that down to the actual trail.
to Summit, or not Summit.
Yeah, which would open up
Skyland
Summit.
Glen.
The big issue right now is neighborhoods like Summit Place are so isolated geographically that they can't get anywhere else in the city without getting in a car. So by getting just some connectivity brings them a little more into the fold.
Okay. So my notes are then on this, take the greenways and add them to the overall greenway plan. And then add the sidewalks down Timber Lane.
line,
Timberline.
Line, sorry. I like Timber
Still
Lane.
makes sense.
Timberline Lane.
Justin Timberline.
Timberline Trace.
Timberline
Summit Place,
Trace.
Summit Chase, Summit Place.
know, I need to
Lane,
blank
they
it.
all
I'm
just-
literally shaking.
I am too.
I'm just shaking.
Okay. So then after we do those updates, are we waiting then on a county meeting?
I say we adopt the plan and then
Well-
we work with the county to.
And then we work with the
Okay.
county.
Do we
Yeah.
need public input?
Yes.
A public input
I
phase
think
before
we
we
should.
adopt
I
a
think we
plan?
should,
Yeah.
because there's gonna be some chatter about that connection Todd was talking about, and.
Right. all
And
sorts of
that
things.
kind of negativity to sidewalks has waned over the years. I remember a couple times where they're like, I don't want these.
I think people are much better with
Opening it up
with
to-
sidewalks as long as it's a sidewalk lane, not
Right.
a car.
The-
Especially after COVID, too.
Yeah,
Lots of walkers.
Gotta warm up.
the input from Dan Leclerc is that Skyland has no right-of-way.
On that portion.
They have 15 feet from center of road, and it's 12-foot wide road, so there's nowhere to put, so the county or the city will have to negotiate for right-of-way along there.
Don't we
which-
have one on the other side? But we need them on both, don't we? We have it on the other side on
Well,
Skyline.
but it doesn't go
That's where
down.
we got the.
Doesn't
Yeah.
go
Dippity
down
doos.
far enough is the
Right.
problem. It stops at Street to Bill or whatever it's called.
It is.
And it's 20 feet off the road. It's kind of
It's better than nothing, but.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying tear them up. I'm just saying there is going to be an issue running sidewalk down there. But that's also a street that really needs stormwater because it's still being serviced by ditch and culvert. And we probably should do better than that.
Well, can we get some dates for public input already, or are we too early for that?
Nope.
And how do we want to manage all that? Open up a community room kind of situation?
We had trouble bringing people in for the UDO. I mean, I think you're gonna get your biggest bang for your buck by individually, like recruiting people and then getting it out virtually more than anything, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean,
Tricia
This would
actually
be-
has helped us along with that.
This would be perfect
already.
for y'all to do a video with Brian
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
and let him post it up. It could go on the website, it could go on Facebook, we could all share it out, and allow people to respond either on Facebook or,
And then, yeah.
Probably get
And
more
then
responses on Facebook than you would have maps in this room.
well, that, you'd have a short video then that you could show,
I mean,
and then he could show the maps on there.
It might not be a bad idea to also post maps in here and tell
Yep.
people they can come in and look at them.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, we can
Not
do that.
not necessarily have a,
On Wednesdays, with court dates.
I think you need to reach out to some HOAs and go to some HOA meetings
Okay.
and show them the map.
So let's.
Kind of connect everything for them. You need to, because just posting it, I don't know
Yeah.
what kind of, I mean,
Not
it's
comfortable with
good
that.
to put out there and it sounds great, but I don't know what kind of input you'd get.
You're not gonna
In
get the
front of people
specific
is good.
neighborhood
So
necessarily.
let's the three of us get back together and we'll do the updates. We'll develop a communication plan
yeah.
and then we can come back and go.
But that'll be, I mean, that would be a great subject to do a video with Brian.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he can, if you have a script, if you got what you want to type up, he's got the teleprompter. You do it upstairs, you could do it outside.
There we go, Brian.
Here we go.
That'd be a great thing to do.
Okay.
And then you still have public comment after
Right.
adoption.
Yeah.
If people,
Right.
because word will get
Exactly.
around
Yeah.
and the people, you'll hear from the people that don't like it.
Which will be
You will, I mean, you'll get support.
And we can go through and also differentiate county versus city streets.
We've got that,
Have
so
that
when you guys get
already.
done marking it up, give it to me and I'll get it digitized.
Okay.
And
So
then we can get it, we can
You
fancy
can
it up.
You can
and,
put in the city streets, county streets.
Yeah, because there's a map right now on the website with that information.
Okay.
But we can figure out a way to show it in that way to get the point across. Because I think that means a lot when the people are always complaining about, why aren't sidewalks here?
Right.
Well, it's not that easy,
Great. Makes me happy.
All right, got a way forward. Butch wanted to check with everybody. Was everybody okay on the Michael Kidd, the route design updates, changes to the contracts? Or did you have questions for him? Because we had talked about that when you were out of the room.
Any questions on those?
I mean, it's really not changing the scope, it's just making an adjustment because the budget figures
Changed.
changed, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
no problem.
Okay. All right, then let's go into exec session so we can get this done and be ready. During the work session of the mayor and city council of Snellville, Georgia, Mayor Bender announced that certain matters should be discussed in a closed session